we're rolling. Blake Jones.
In the flesh.
How you doing, man?
I'm fantastic. Finally finished doing my round of, kissing hands and shaking babies today. So.
I hear that, man. It's babies need shaking.
But thanks for having me on here, man.
Hey, you bet. I'm glad you came on. Let's start off with the simple stuff. Just go ahead and tell us who you are and where you grew up and how you got here.
All right. So, I'm Blake Jones. Grew up in Cleburne. Was a product of the Cleburne school system. Had numerous ins and outs earlier in life. A lot of folks can probably say the same that are from around here, just because I met with a lot of them and can share their own testimony. But my parents split when I was really young, 2 years old, and we moved around. Probably, I want to say, lived in 7 different places before I was 12. Mom passed when I was 8 due to breast cancer. My dad was in prison at the time, and my grandparents, June and Brad, had adopted us legally, which was practically what saved us at the time. But during that time, we were raised by our grandparents. My grandma Gloria started Operation Blessing back in the day, and we grew up in that clothing room. I saw how the underprivileged lived, but more so I grew up in it, and it was weird because between going there and going back to my other grandparents who taught me practically everything I know about business, I got to see both sides of the playing field. And it taught me to be humble, rooted me in my faith, but also put my head on straight. And, by the time I was 23, my dad had passed from a fentanyl overdose. And by the time I was 27, my brother passed, also from a fentanyl overdose. And it rocked us, but something that I've always done was compartmentalize like crazy. We pretend it's not happening, and we dive into work to keep it from being real. I don't know if it was healthy, but it worked out. And like the good Lord does, everything happens for a reason. There's no mistakes. But somewhere along the line, you identify that every challenge that comes along your way is an opportunity to be an example to somebody else that needs it. And it's happened several times, but never in a million years would I have thought when I left to go to school, which, by the way, my mom's life policy cashed out. It paid for the tuition over at TCU, and I'm glad it did when it did, because now they're over and beyond the cost of Harvard per semester. It's absolutely ridiculous. But leaned into it really hard, got my education, met my wife Jennifer back in my previous life, which was hospitality. And I mean, Barry Whitehead, his dad, Ferris Whitehead, over at what used to be Eastern Heights Church. We grew up over there for the most part, and he gave me my first job here at CC's in town. And I'll never forget my work ethic. I got to give credit to my grandma June, and I went out to the garage one day, and she said, she told me if I wanted something, I can just go get it. I was at the age where we're not big kids. We don't have to, or big kids like this. We're pretty scrawny. We're doing farm work. We're doing the things we could do. We're old enough to go out there and grab a soda without asking. Had some structure there. So I finally came back in one day and I go, why don't y'all have anything that isn't diet and give me the real stuff? She goes, why don't you get a job? And so that's where I got onto CC's. And I loved it, sort of. But the salad bar was terrible. I mean, they put me on there $5.25 an hour, but it took up my Fridays and Saturdays. Now, they used to have an arcade prior to doing the card thing, where you could just go actually drop quarters in the machine, and I would always take a salad fork and dig out the ones that were jammed and then play there on my lunch breaks. I couldn't drive anywhere. I wasn't old enough. And I tell you, that first paycheck that came out wasn't very big, but the first thing I did, I bought a 2-liter Mountain Dew. It was the best soda I ever had. Ever since, I've just retained the job. I was 14 at the time, a W-2 job. I mean, I've been working on farm equipment, stuff like that, since I was 12. But, yeah, that was the genesis of me here. And then I went on with other folks I come to know in town, and Ron Russick, he gave me my job over there at Domino's, and before long I was running shifts. Prior to, I think I was a manager for the Cleburne store and Acton and Granbury by the time I was 16. And it taught me a lot about working with folks that are older than I am. And that's another thing. Growing up as an older brother and dealing with the kind of loss that we did, you have to grow up fast. You don't have to. You can lean into things that aren't healthy. But I did the opposite. I got into music, and going into high school, that was just my path. And, man, it was a perfect time. We had, everybody wanted a piece of our drum line. That was my deal, was percussion. And I got to play under Tim House and Quincy Jarman, who went to school with another great coming out of Cleburne, Josh Berthum. And, man, when Starbucks opened, they called us to go play in front of their store. It was crazy. People used to be able to throw money at music departments to get the kids to come out, and they'd let us out of school to go stand in front of somewhere or march through somewhere, play cadence, and give us free stuff. And so,
not too bad.
At Starbucks, when it opened here in Cleburne, we stood in front of the street all day on Henderson and just played cadence all day. And they gave us free coffee and pastries or whatever we wanted. And Lowe's open, they had us march to the store. There was even a guy over at college. And he wanted to give his wife all the days of Christmas. And so he paid $300 to the band boosters to get the drum line to go out there and do the 12 drummers drumming for his wife. And, that's the town I grew up in, being a part of all that. At the same time, working the whole way through high school. It was a good upbringing. But going out, getting involved with all the hospitality career that came after, I almost took a general management spot at the Omni in Fort Worth, and instead moved over to Woodhaven Country Club and ended up running their food and beverage department when I was 21. And I got very in tune with commodity pricing and training staff both front and back of house, and I thought that was going to be my life. But somebody else above us had a bigger plan, right? I got with my wife there, scooped her up out of that spot, and moved us back to Cleburne, not before getting into insurance. Now, that transition was kind of ugly. I'd never been without a job since I was 14. And when I transitioned out of there, I was getting ready to take my GMAT. For whatever reason, I got the same test scores twice. Got in there so hard on the math section for whatever reason. I couldn't cut it, but TCU called and they go, look, you get a little bit of work experience and go out there and have a job, we'll take you back. And I've had 12 jobs since, going through all of this, and it makes a difference. I know how business and finance work. I knew how hospitality worked. And so then I ended up hopping on Craigslist back when that was a big thing. And
I remember that.
And I found this job, said North Texas Quality Air, $21 an hour. I thought I could answer phones, so that'll be all right. I get out there, and it looks like R2-D2 in the middle of the room, okay? And it's Rainbow Vacuums. Just, they had a fancy LLC name. I go, okay, well, We'll see how this goes. First sales gig. I thought, how am I going to do this? But again, I don't like being without a job. I sold my first one to a guy with wood floors. This thing's like $2,400, man. He had a terrible credit rating, and it did not feel good. I felt like I was doing something wrong when I left that house. I get out here, and I'm helping my granddad. It's like a 102-degree day, and I've got a little sledgehammer and old oil can, and I'm breaking a brush hog off the back of a PTO shaft. And he turns around, and he goes, "Don't you have a degree now?" I said, "Yeah." So, "What the hell are you doing selling vacuums?" So I go, "Yeah, okay, good point." So I looked around, insurance came along, and the first group I visited was farmers. Had no idea what they were talking about. I was 23 at the time. And I mean, by the time I had left this district office in North Richland Hills, I had not realized I was going to even own my insurance agency. Matter of fact, when I hit all their numbers they required me to hit, because most of the captive carriers require one, I had already signed a contract, was on a plane to Grand Rapids, Michigan, to do a think tank like they like to do, and it's not specific to farmers. Most big carriers do this. I had to have a business plan ready, so I cranked this one out on the plane, thinking I'm going to be ridiculed by all these people that are decades beyond me in age. And they did tell me, by the way, when I got there, they go, "Yeah, you know you're in a middle-aged man's game, right?" But I mean, I'm not going to back out now. Here I am in Michigan. Let's go. And so completed that part, came back, and just something was unlocked in me. I had a big problem with social anxiety. It used to be, if there was a group of 3 people, I knew 2 of them and I didn't know one, I could not walk up to that group and talk without absolutely locking up. If anything, my degree probably gave me the skills to get out of that mindset, and it went from hospitality to insurance, and then I absolutely killed it. But the way I did it was getting behind the mechanics, figuring out what gave people pain points specifically, and finding out what it took to alleviate those pain points, because I couldn't sell on experience, I wasn't old enough. I didn't have near enough time. Matter of fact, I was the youngest farmer's agent in Texas whenever I got on that contract, and I stuck through. Anyway, Jennifer went off to work with another HVAC company, and we were figuring it out. I'll never forget the days when I had to go to apartment complexes, knock on doors, try to sell renters insurance policies, get there the day the rent was due, because that's when they had the money. It was a learning experience, man, but I stuck through it. I did well, and when the time was right, Jen and I got married. We moved back to Cleburne, and I raised it here in this spot. And the rest of it was really history. That's how I went away but came back. And the whole reason at the time was, you lean on the natural market, friends, family, people and I knew everybody here. But that's where the transition really started to happen. I would have never thought I'd been running for mayor. It was never part of my plan. And that might be why I'm the more obvious choice for it, because I don't like titles. My own job description, being that I'm in securities, if I were to get paid for an elected position, I would have to forfeit my securities license. So realistically, so long as the mayor position stays unpaid, it's as high as I can go. And it's as high as I'd want to go. I don't like the 2-party system mess. I like dealing in government where it's closest to the people, because that's where the rubber really meets the road, right? Mm-hmm. Now, when I got down here, I leaned into the chamber first, and the first contact and the one that really made the most impact for me was Kathy Marshall. And she led me into other relationships, like with Chuck Bailey, who's also passed, but really good salt of the earth people. And they could see the potential in you, and there's certain folks that you run along into in life, and you can sit down and have a conversation with them, and you leave feeling smarter. You feel dumb going in, You still feel dumb when you leave, but you feel less dumb. That was Chuck Bailey. That was Kathy Marshall. You know, that's Jerry Cash. The folks that they put me in front of at the time, Casey Waits. That's how I met him. When I got on the ambassador group, the Redcoats at the Chamber, I rewrote their whole bylaw program just to, because when I was involved and I had the time, I would appear at all these ribbon cuttings religiously, and you could start to tell that the Redcoats would show up to the stuff they knew would be really big and impact their business.
Yeah.
And then they wouldn't show up at like the smaller mom and pop type of gigs that may shut its doors next weekend. And that shouldn't have been any different. You know, when you pay a price with the chamber, you need to realize that, you know, that potential. And so do they. So we rewrote the bylaws, and it pretty much stipulated if you can't be at X amount of these meetings or ribbon cuttings or make them up by phone calls, you can't be in the program anymore. Coincidentally, I knocked myself out of the ambassadors because I couldn't adhere to the bylaws that I myself had written. But fast forward, you got a good turnout for any new business that opens up out here, and that was cool to me.
Yeah,
you know,
that's great.
And if that's working, if that's humming, then everybody else is winning. So the networking part of it for me was huge. But people like Kathy, people like Chuck, they were the foundation to get me into meeting all the folks that help my business grow now. And I love small towns. I mean, I bought another book of business from an agent I grew up with. I say grew up with. When I started as an agent, you grow up professionally. So
Yeah,
I grew up with Kim Bruno, and she was getting ready to retire. She had a book up in Benbrook, and I had the resources available to go ahead and scoop that thing up, and I thought, let's expand into Fort Worth. It was the worst thing I ever did. I mean, not because the book wasn't good, it was just the community was different. Small towns and big towns, even though I started in a big town, I immediately remembered why I left and came back to Cleburne. And so eventually we just merged the two, still bought the thing, and we have a lot of that client list left. But in larger towns, people have this climate about them and this aura that just reeks of, I don't know you, I came here to take care of my business, and you need to be in my rear view. In small towns, people come in and they go, what are you about? Do you know so-and-so? What church do you go to? Where do you like to eat? And your job suddenly doesn't suck.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah. No, I hear that, man.
And so, fast forward even further, Kathy plugged me into a lot of groups. She got me into Rotary. She got me hooked up with East Cleburne Community Center. I got to meet Dexter through those avenues, and Dexter Baldwin. And that's around the time when my wife was starting to get plugged in as well. She was on the Advocacy Center board. She's a CASA advocate now. And through Rotary, Judge Barkley was the one that swore her in. That was kind of cool to see because he was a president before I was president of the Rotary Club. And, you know, there for a while, we were just running and gunning. We were blessed enough. Jen didn't have to go to work. And it kind of bit me in the rear because I had all these non-profit things going on and the business. And it was a whole matter of me trying to do these unpaid things to expand what happens here in my office and get my name out there. And it completely put a damper on the home life when I have Jen with Aiden and Skylar, you know, 20 months apart, and she's juggling babies, but I didn't see it at the time. And once I did, you know, we dialed back quite a bit. And at the time, though, you know, the flag program with Rotary, they put the flags all around the square and
Great
up
program.
around City Hall. In my year, I had expanded that to citizens. And initially, the scouts were to be the delivery mechanism. Stretch Smith, one of the greats, one of the late greats, he would always put on this technical scholarship. And the flag program was designed to automatically take a portion of the proceeds when people paid $50 or $100 a year to have a flag put out 5 holidays. It was split between Scouts, his scholarship, and then a share fund that went back to what I don't know if they call it that still, but it was called the Rotary Share Fund at the time. That money would go up, get invested, and come back 1.5 times for you to use on grant programs wherever you wanted in the community. And that's also, well, that's how I met you.
Yeah,
I got into Satellite Rotary Club, and we had it in there. That's how I got to know Judge Bedecker now a little bit better. And yeah, a lot of the community outreach started at that point for me. And we got the Interact Club going at the high school. We got
same with me too. I mean,
just unlocking core memories the more I run my mouth.
No, keep going, man. Keep going. It's good stuff.
But this was me starting, leaving, coming back, and then I got in building and standards. So I spoke with Clint Ishmael, and he said, "Hey, how about you get on the board that condemns property?" I said, "That sounds like it's terrible." He said, "It is." Because
It does sound terrible.
It's the stuff that nobody wants to look at. It's the dirty underbelly of Cleburne. We have to condemn something because it's going sideways or getting dirty. It's the things that nobody wants to talk about, but we absolutely have to address. He said, but you've got an idea, at least in your underwriting background, just being in insurance, you can look at a property and know, okay, this thing's about to crack in half. They want to fix the roof first. What's wrong with that scenario? I can go, foundation. He says, you passed. And so then I plugged into that. And I vice chair next to Sydney Hewlett, who became judge. And that lady, she's awesome. She's a bulldog. I get why she's doing so well where she is now. But I learned a lot from her. And, man, we tore into the substandard properties. There were a lot of folks that came in that had the capital to make them better. Mm-hmm. And only on a very... There were very few cases that was the case, and we had to really hammer down on the folks that just let these substandard properties become a nuisance for a decade or two, which creates other problems for other folks. And it erodes the tax base. It's an unspoken thing, but it's very real. It's what led into us passing the property maintenance code back in, well, we workshopped it in 2019. It was implemented in 2023. I worked with Peter Svensson on that one, and, well, it was HOPE program, Building and Standards Commission, and Fire Department. We all got together and figured out how do we take the International Property Maintenance Code and make it our own. And it boiled down to broken windows theory at the time, which is, it's a criminology thing, but you take... Broken windows theory pretty much means if everybody has broken windows on the block, it's okay to have broken windows. So we needed to reverse it. So the idea was we divided Cleburne into 16 parts, and we decided to take the worst of the worst in all of those, fine them, and then hope for voluntary compliance. But I mean, we had some bad ones. There was one I mentioned at the forum. We had just had someone had a big bit about turning Cleburne into an HOA. So I had to take that one on the nose. It's not an HOA, but we did make some moves such as requiring locks on gates where kids could go drown, putting screens on your windows, getting rid of noxious plants that could, invite poisons into the area or pests that you don't want to see. That's the bigger part of grass. Junk vehicles, people that like to leave stuff on the street. You can't park boats or RVs in the street anymore because we got rid of it by ordinance. And the big picture behind that was we don't want to clip them with a ambulance or a fire engine that you as the taxpayer owns, but also cause issues with the personal property of that homeowner. So it just gave us some clarity, but also some teeth to address issues. Now, the biggest one, and the one that always stuck with me, and made me know that we made the right move was at 408 Dixon. So this particular property had, when they came up, had a kiddie pool in the front yard, a tree, a come along over one of the branches with a transmission hanging off of it. And they were playing auto mechanic in their front yard. Now, prior to the IPMC, we had the Uniform Building Standards Act of 1990. Didn't have much in it. And we couldn't walk on the property and say, hey, you can't do that. The ordinance says so. We just had to let them do it. And so they went to go knock on the door, and some kids came out through the window. And then they disappeared. So they knocked again. Nobody answered. They called to do a truancy check. Kids hadn't been to school in a couple weeks. And this was back when we had those back-to-back Februaries where we had the freezes. Mm-hmm. So they knocked again, said, if you don't answer the door, we'll come back with a warrant. Nobody answered. They came back with a warrant, kicked the back door in. We were ankle deep in animal and human waste. There was drug paraphernalia in all the rooms, knives in the walls, crazy scene. And these kids are running around in here, had to be 8 and 6 with no utilities on. And, of course, they got them warm, gave them some food, and they were terrified. But they waited on the parents to come back. They swabbed them. They were hot for meth. Kids went to OCOKO. CPS wasn't a deal at the time. But all that being said, they couldn't have made entry if we didn't have the teeth to make entry. So that was the big one. That was where building and standards made a more significant impact. We got to actually stamp the approval to let these people go get after these properties that weren't being addressed. Well, then the building comes down in downtown Cleburne.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So that was a good time. And frankly, the owners of the property, they did what they were supposed to in terms of there was a fight between local government code and our ordinance. Mm-hmm. And right now I can't tell you which one was which, but they wanted to cite one of the two that said they had a week to remedy a life-threatening situation to the public. City wanted to use the version that said you have 2 days. Now, their attorney came to this building and standards meeting and said, we don't understand how this is a threat to the public. This is when Phoenix 1 came with an overnight hotshot crew and shorted up.
I remember that.
And it was expensive, right? Of course, they came back to negotiate, and they said, hey, can you work with us on the cost? Because we had someone on the phone to come out there, a structural engineer, to address it, and then hire a crew, and we had, these bids that came up close to half the cost of what you guys put on us. And our job at the time was to determine, is it reasonable or unreasonable? If it's unreasonable, it goes back to council, y'all work it out. If it's reasonable request, we don't do anything and we leave them holding the bag. I'll never forget that day. They came up, nobody from the city attorney's office was there. Nobody from the fire department was there at that meeting except the folks that read their portion of, the substandard
Did you ever find out why I never showed up?
No. Wasn't in my capacity for it to matter. I mean, it was, is it reasonable or unreasonable? And so their attorney came and they said, look, we have a phone call documented that says our people were here at the time and they were ready to address it. And we don't know who it was that said, no, send them home. Because somebody did say, send them home from the city. We have our own coming out to look at it. Now, our attorneys did appear on a little puck in the middle of the room. This was shortly after COVID when we were relocated to the PAC at the conference center. Mm-hmm. And I asked, I said, is that true? Did we send somebody away? They said, we can't confirm or deny it at this time. I go, okay, well, I mean, it's unreasonable. Go work it out with council. Which I thought was fair. It didn't, at the surface, seem like they'd done anything wrong.
Yeah.
But obviously, when a bid comes back from people after the fact, it's always going to be cheaper than the guy you call in the middle of the night with a hotshot crew of 30 guys to come shore up a historic building in downtown that shares a firewall with another one. without hoping it collapses in the middle of the road and kills several people, which they could end up being liable for if they do it wrong. So they ended up working it out. But I feel like the temperature with the council at the time was not very good with building and standards, and it was at that time, in my opinion, the building and standards got neutered. We lost our playbook on assessing civil penalties. So it would work one of two ways. You could either assess penalties for a violation they didn't take care of, which is what we would usually do if they would just ignore us. Once those got to be so big, well, those get ratified at the district court, and if the fines assessed are more than the value of the property, it gets foreclosed on, and then it gets sold or auctioned at the courthouse steps. That was the play. We're not in the real estate game, but that was part of it. The other thing to consider was if we actually condemn property, you don't want to do that unless it's more than 50% deteriorated. But at the same time, you have to take into account the city council only set aside so many dollars to tear down the properties we would condemn. We could order a condemnation, and it'd sit there for 2 more years before it got
before the budget got there,
which created its own problems. And if we're doing our duty as citizens, not getting paid, and trying to forward think, we want to see around corners for people. So, anyway, their changes came down. They changed the way all of it worked. Made me rather upset, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to run for council. And then...
How'd that go?
Well, then I came up against, I'll call him Chris Bedecker at the time. Had no idea that Gail White was his grandmother. It was practically an incumbent race. But I was in too deep. So I tried my best, took my beating, and I'm glad he ended up where he is now. He's best thing we could have had as a county judge. And all things happen for a reason.
100%.
So, anyway, I let it alone for a while. Stayed in my lane, rebuilt the book here, tried to get my systems in order, and thought about, what's next steps. Got some free time. And then he was going to run for judge. So then I got poked by I don't know how many people. Hey, consider this, consider this. I thought, all right, let's roll the dice again. Then we got in there. Now, since I've been there, there's been so many. It's different once you're in. Everybody has their own version of how things should go, but once you're beyond the veil, you can see what's actually happening, and then you can apply your own experience to it and make recommendations. That's where I am now. So I've been here 3 years. The council elected me as mayor pro tem, which is not a voted position, by the way. The citizens don't vote on that. The council does, to be backup mayor, pretty much, when the mayor can't be there. So that's...
You're like the right-hand man.
Yeah. And that about covers all the bases from Blake Bourne to why is he on council, I think. Unless you have any questions about any of that.
No, man, that was pretty good. All right, so let's talk about running for mayor and what you want to run on. Let's hit on the points that you want to talk about. I know you've been out there, you've been busy, and I mean, I've been trying to get you on this for a little bit, and you're like, man, it's a pretty day. I'm door knocking. I got this going on. I got that going on. And so it's good to have you here. So let's talk about the main subject and what you're running on.
Sure. So it is no secret that I have polluted the towns.
Littered everywhere.
The towns right of ways, and not the right of ways, just right beyond them.
I stuck my sign on the right of way, by the way.
Oh man, thank you. I hadn't had that much excitement today. I need somebody to call me and cry. I'm telling you. I haven't in the past gotten on Facebook for Cleburne Matters, and there's a couple reasons. Some of them I have broadcasted several times, but I still get knocked like I'm doing something wrong. One, not everybody has Facebook. That's probably the biggest reason I don't do it. But second, the Open Meetings Act stipulates if we talk about policy as sitting elected officials and 2 of us chime in, all you need is one other person to cast their opinion, And now we have created a walking quorum if it's something that's going to appear on an agenda. If that happens, because not everybody has Facebook, that means information becomes available to some people, but not all people at the same time. And we have already deliberated it because we've shared our opinion on the matter. When that happens, depending on whatever it might be, no matter how small or big, if it doesn't go the way whoever is affected by any resolution, if it doesn't go the way whoever's on the other end of it, they can turn around and sue the city for violating that. And you know who foots that bill? Taxpayers.
I was going to say us, because it's a non-paid.
So I get attacked for not getting on Facebook, and my rebuttal is, I'm just trying to look out for you guys. So I've been very careful here recently, and that was why my big post. I got so many calls about, my light morning toilet reading. I get on the After Dark page and try to see what they're doing to you today.
I like that that's your first.
I mean, some of it's funny. There's been some crazy stuff out there.
I've had a good laugh. I'm not going to lie.
But for the most part, my reputation's carried me a pretty good way. It's got me a lot of support from folks out there in the community. I don't ever ask businesses to allow me to put my signage in front of their spot because I don't want them to feel conflicted. I don't want to mess up their relationship with me, and also feel like if they tell me no, they're putting themselves in jeopardy to risk losing business over a political decision. But all these businesses I've got the stuff in front of, they've come to me, which is great. I'm more than happy to put them out there and put me out there with them because these campaigns are expensive. Now let me go back to the pillars. First and foremost is maintaining Cleburne's maintaining the integrity of Cleburne. We want to keep it what it is, what it was, what it is, and not become Frisco, Plano, Burleson, Mansfield. And the reason for that is we've got things that a lot of big cities don't have. We have a lot of things small cities don't have, but I mean, we've got an industrial park, an airport, a lake, a golf course, a historic downtown. We check all these boxes that would draw people to a place on a very much smaller budget and right now a lower population. So my whole approach, if I had to bottle it into one thing, it would be that. And we do that by playing to our strengths when it comes to fiscal responsibility.
Keep that try to keep that microphone. Grab the arm here.
Oh.
Move it around. I was gonna say you get a little bit far away.
Sorry, I'm getting passionate over here.
No, you're good.
All right.
I was just trying to help you out.
So
I just want to make sure your message gets heard.
10-4. So if I had to deliver any main focal point, it is that. It's play to our strengths and make the money that Cleburne makes by being Cleburne, not by being something different. So there's a reason we don't have more fried chicken joints and title-owned places popping up. There's a reason Olive Garden came in. Hobby Lobby chose to come back. And don't get me wrong, back in the day, we had JCPenney out here. We had Mazzio's. We had a Hallmark in Nolan River Mall. And I think it's important to address what happened. Why did it change? Why did it go the other direction? And a lot of that can be attributed to the internet.
Yeah, agree with that.
Stick and Brick got kicked in the pants when Amazon made its big explosive debut. You could order stuff and have it here in less than 5 days. And it only got better, but it did set us back a little while in certain areas. And then the focus became, okay, why don't we target experiences? Can we push hard on, main event type stuff, go-kart tracks, putt-putt, stuff you can't order online. Right. You have to go do it. Or clothing. If we want to do the whole rigmarole of ordering clothes, trying it on, it doesn't fit, stuff it back in the return bag they give us and wait for it to show up, we can. but a lot of people don't like to do that, man.
Yeah, I don't like to do that either.
So we focused on experiences and apparel for the most part. And we're not the only ones that do that. There's a lot of folks out there that's the goal, and the leakage reports reflect it. So Joe Fackel, our new economic development coordinator, he gave us the retail leakage report that shows, based on real-time data, who is leaving Cleburne to go purchase what and then coming back home, which shows us what to target. So
how do you get that data?
by being Big Brother.
Okay, gotcha.
So
well, makes sense.
Our chamber uses a software. I can't remember the name of it for the life of me. The one we used prior to the one we use now was called Zartico, and it's based off these. So location data, whenever you go somewhere, if you've got, I guess, any means of tracking, whether it be through an app or what comes from the software developers, they can see where you're at and for how long. So if you've got something that lives here at night and then it goes away and stays somewhere, like at a major retail anchor, Academy, something like that, for a while, and then it comes back home, the assumption is they're probably going there to spend money. Or if it goes to a restaurant, they're going to say they're eating there. We don't have that. We have leaked the retail. It's pretty simple, but it's costly, and it's a little intrusive. But
I was going to say that's super comforting knowing that.
Right? I don't even know how to turn it off. There's a way to do it, but I
don't know. I turn my location.
When I look at my location services, I went through a whole laundry list of stuff, but there's certain things you can't use on your phone without it.
100%.
So, anyway.
They got you.
Yeah, they got you. Obviously, the other key factors here, it's going to be police fire readiness. You know, we've got an ISO 1, which is huge. It goes from a 1 to a 10. Mm-hmm. 1 is, you know, we're 1% of the nationally ranked most equipped fire staff. 10 is we have to fly a bucket of dirt in here to put this out. So that gets regraded every 10 years. And there's certain checkpoints you have to hit, very strict, 100 different things on a list you have to get, I believe it's 95 of, to qualify for it. And there's only 243 municipalities in the state of Texas that actually do. Mm-hmm. So that does a lot of things. Why that's important to me is because they call it a public protection class or a PPC rating. That we have a 1, it means homeowners insurance and commercial insurance premiums are lower because of the capability of the area you're in.
Very appreciative of that.
And that's important to folks wanting to come down and open up here. It's not the end all be all. You need the rooftops, but you also need that aspect. If they don't have the confidence mm-hmm. in public safety to protect their investment, they factor that into whether or not it's a good move. Now,
well, and the fact that, you know, it's safer because we are in that percentile, mm-hmm. and we do have that enough. We have that backing.
And we just recently got that, so there's another 10 years until we're regraded, but we want to protect it. Now, that leads me to the next point, the new PD. So we have a lot of, for the longest, the whole plan that was sitting on the shelf was to make the old bank building the new PD. We have since scrapped it. A lot of people don't know this, which I thought they would have because it was a big pain point for the city. But the question was, are we ever going to do anything with that old First Financial Bank building that the city bought forever ago? Well, we did. We decided to rehab it and put every department that faces and interacts with the public in one spot. So water department, building department, planning and zoning, code enforcement. If you're going to interact with city staff or a city department, it's in there. It does a couple things. One, we were under $200 a square foot on the remodel, so that was great. But it's also allowing all this other real estate in the city of Cleburne to be freed up, which can either be sold or used for other purposes. I would prefer to see these empty buildings just go to someone that wants to turn it into something, because a lot of them are located on main streets.
Yeah, I was gonna say they're right there.
Right. And so that's a big win in terms of ease of communication with the city. If you got an issue, it's no longer your water bill's not being handled right. Well, is your meter right? Have you taken a look at, how many cans are supposed to be in the spot? What's your utility charges? Have you discussed any zoning changes? Do we need to add a can? Who did you call for that? Well, here, go to City Hall, check them real quick. That's a mess. More so in the public safety, I'll backtrack here and switch gears. Since we're not putting that there, the new plan is to take the new PD, put it over here by the airport. We'll go to bond for it. We'll ask for funding from the voters. And when that happens, I don't think the folks will have an issue with it. I mean, we've got police officers working in closets right now.
Yeah, I know.
And
it's actually, so when I ran for office, it was pretty depressing walking into the police station.
You toured it, that's right.
Yeah, and I couldn't believe that this is what they were doing, to be honest.
So when we go in there, and I don't know how close this is to actually happening, because it hasn't gone through. We've been through the engineering and design. At the same time, we issued the funds to have the bank building renovated, just to show the police officers that yes, we fully intend to make something happen. This will go to the voters, and when it's done, we're going to move fire, admin, police over into the same spot, and the municipal court. Now, the police dispatch, that's a big issue. You've got 2 seats in that room. I don't know if you recall it, but I went through there and the power went out back in 2019 and the backup generator wasn't coming on. So you had, for all of 10, 15 minutes, you couldn't call 911 in Cleburne.
Wow.
So this stuff matters, and a lot of people are going to get upset and up in arms about taxes, but at the end of the day, low taxes are great until the police don't show up on time or your fire doesn't get put out.
Yeah.
Now, Featherston, let me go back to that. The fire on Featherston and having to move across the city in several different locations. I had, first of all, that fire never had to happen. There was a request for a wellness check. Some folks went to the fire admin building, and the way that these folks brought it up to me when they were complaining about it was so specific, and the details stuck out, that I knew they weren't blowing smoke, because that happens a lot. But in this case, they told me they went in, they couldn't meet with our fire chief or assistant chief because they were doing something else, but to leave a note. And they said, I grabbed all these Post-it notes and started writing out my issue. And I thought, I've been in there a lot of times from building and standards. I know the desk they're talking about, and they keep tons of them up there. Anyway, they were told to, for wellness checks, go over to code. They call the police department. They go, no, that's inside a property. You need to reach out to health and sanitation. They handle the inside, and that's inside of properties, including wellness checks. That's fire department. And they said, no. Because the fire y'all discovered was on the outside, and it might be a code violation with where they have things located. And they had also seen some other packages coming and going that shouldn't have been there. I said, call over to code again. Anyway, these folks had a grandson upstairs that filmed or took a picture of a grill that was on fire up against the side of the house. They'd witnessed floor-to-ceiling boxes of something. They didn't know what it was, but they said you could set a clock to it, and it would be delivered to the house. And they would go take these boxes inside. And the girl that was there, Nia, the one that had passed, would always come over to their house and play violin for them. And so they developed a relationship with the girl, and they would constantly be in touch, but then they got worried because they saw some of this stuff starting to amass. Anyway, when they
Excuse
got
me.
oh, you're good. When they got a hold of when they finally got a hold of whom they needed to, they said, "Yeah, we'll be out there with a wellness check in a couple of days." All in all, this process took about 2 weeks, but 2 weeks from that date is when that house burned down and that girl died. And part of what I wanted to change was taking the health and sanitation away from the fire department, the code enforcement and marshals away from the police department, and move it into a community services division. This isn't rewriting a playbook by any means. If anything, it's plagiarizing other communities that have already done this. And now that we're growing and we have a facility where we're moving that division, it only makes sense. We definitely do not need to place this new PD with fire admin over there and keep that part of what they do in a totally separate location. It defeats the purpose of the move. So, anyway, beyond all that, we've got roads, water. We entered into a memorandum of understanding with JSUD. So, big thing about the Whitney water is, while it's brackish, we have no infrastructure to get it here. We did confirm by the Brazos River Authority, because it's part of the same basin, we could use Lake Granbury as a take point, where JSUD was already building a facility. Problem is, they've got 24 municipal utility districts that they're required to provide water to when they pop up. That being the case, it has fast-tracked their timeline to need to access water. Mm-hmm. I've talked to Josh Howard about this a few times. He replaced Peter Kampfa, and he's been great to work with, but he kind of explained the reality of the situation. He said, our best option right now is to buy wholesale from Arlington. Now, Jeremy Hutt was working with them, and that's where the MOU came from. Mm-hmm. So now we know that they're getting into a wholesale agreement with Arlington. We know that we're going to be a part of it, and we can afford it, which is a big deal. The money's going a different direction than when we initially anticipated. And that's important for people to know. Water security is a big deal. Without it, you're dead as a city. But we've been looking at this for a very long time, and we are not in dire straits by any means. Then roads, that's fairly simple, and this kind of plays into why it's important that we stay the course on the proposal that's floating around out there by siphoning portions of sales tax and going to a no new revenue rate on property tax. Some people will recall, but folks that are new to Cleburne will not. In a prior administration, there was an attempt to buy down property tax rate, or ad valorem, or for folks that don't know what that is, additional value to their property. Now, when they did that with oil and gas royalties and we had the funds, eventually those funds dried up. An anomaly they did not see happening for a while. Regardless, it happened. And over the last decade, they had to make several different changes to policy, including selling off our road equipment and moving to this climate where we outsource to have road repairs done. We used to be able to do it internally, and that kind of set us back. Now, that last decade caught us up because they took this 8.5% increase to the tax rate year over year for like 7-8 straight years, and then Senate Bill 2 happened, and they switched the rollback tax rate to 3.5%. Now, if you look at 2019, the same year that happened, that's when our streets program started to take place. Since then, they identified roads that were in sort of okay shape that could be resurfaced or do the mill and overlay versus total replacement. And you know this, but you can get a lot more distance out of a mill and overlay than you can totally replacing a road. So the worst first approach was just, it doesn't make sense to do, not if you want actual results. So between 2019 and now, we've redone over 50 miles of road.
Yeah, we've done pretty good about it.
But it's $2.5 million that we put in because we're at capacity on staffing. We could take out a large bond to pay to get more of it done. The issue isn't paying to bring folks in here to do it. It's having enough staff on our side to go out there and make sure they do it right.
The inspection part, yeah.
You want to do it right, not twice. So
Yeah.
that's it's an unpopular opinion, but it's not one I'm afraid to give. I'll never give people the big shiny answers for political gain. I'll just be real about what it is. And right now, we're doing the absolute best we can with the resources that we have. A new PD that's required, a new fire station that will eventually be required in the industrial park, the engine and apparatus and the staff to go into there, and the COLA adjustments and continuing to pay those folks and keep pace with the market. You don't decide to buy down ad valorem business 101, right? You don't replace a fixed income with a variable income. It's just you run too many risks, and it's not responsible use of taxpayer money. So we have so many things on the horizon and so many different debts that we're buying down. Our bond rating is excellent. There's a reason that we are able to borrow when we need to at a interest rate that far outpaces other municipalities because we've done what we're supposed to. And we budget very conservatively. You know, we are all, I think it was this last year, we finally dove into fund balance for the first time, and it was on hot taxes. But aside from that, not since I've been here, not since I think Bedecker was on council. So things are moving in the right way. It's slow and steady. And beyond that, I mean, the only other thing I haven't covered was the CTE partnerships. I'm looking to continue. I've worked with Mark McClure way back when, then with Rebecca Herring, and now I'm working with Jason Cooper because the position keeps moving. But we wanted the kids to get hands-on with police vehicles and fire vehicles. So they have to be decommissioned, sirens off, lights off, before they go to the auction block. That requires a certification. We have the ability to plug it in. And between the Workforce Commission coming here, which is awesome, we finally got a climate where we can retain some of these kids so they're not having to go outside of Cleburne to make a living. I think that's important.
No, I agree with that.
But I'm getting tired of hearing me talk. What else you got?
All right, so you talked about some of the bond things. The one thing that I really like with the city is they don't run on a lot of debt. So with saying that, again, some people do like running on a lot of debt. I mean, teach their own or whatnot, but in a government position, and what I've seen, what are your plans to kind of mitigate that debt and keep everything to where it needs to be, and how we're going to pay everything off in a responsible way?
So, first thing you do is you treat any of the bonus monies. So, hotel, motel taxes, those are bonus monies. They're not always going to be there. Sales taxes, when they come, they're bonus monies. You use them to buy down debt quicker when you can, but upon accepting the debt in the first place, you forecast and you make absolute certainty of your percentages. You don't want to get on a percentage rate of interest that you know that you can't afford to keep. I mean, that's the short answer. Now, anything you can cash fund is a win. We have ways to mitigate that. So capital improvement projects. I think the first big expense we made with impact fees was when Atwoods came in. They wanted to widen Hicks Road. So when we use this, so that $2.5 million every year that we use on roads, part of it's cash funded, but part of it's through debt.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when we get new projects come up, like the Hicks Road widening, a lot of people thought we decided to take away from the general fund and spend something there so that Atwoods would come in. That's not what we did. We entered into a public-private partnership. We use impact fees, which are brought in from developers that want to come in and build new housing for road, water, and wastewater. Well, we use the road impact fees, which can only be used on new roads, and we match dollar for dollar, million to million, from monies that came from developers with monies that came from Atwoods. It was easier for them to stomach $1 million expense to widen their road to accommodate the traffic counts than it would have been for them to do the whole thing. It might have even had something to do with them wanting to come here in the first place. Where can we make this count? Now, another thing with the 380 agreements, so there's another group out here, Outfit, we made some very minimal code changes to. I can't say who it is because I'm under NDA still, but when we made that adjustment, we checked all the boxes. They plan to come out here. We're going to see about 300 more jobs just from this particular place alone in the industrial park. But when they brought the 380 agreement to us, they offered on their own to purchase local materials for the build, which was really cool. So I'd never thought of it.
Mm-hmm.
Why aren't we doing that for anybody that asks for any kind of abatement? Because then you win twice.
Mm-hmm.
One on the new growth, and then
they're buying
second
from
on
us.
the sales
They're
taxes.
buying from the people that are here already.
And I think that's what it boils down to. It goes really back to the first thing I said. You want to double down on what we already have.
Mm-hmm.
The airport right now, since we corrected the rent rolls and we got the right people in there, they've adjusted for CPI. And by the time Hangar 99's done and rented, we're going to be pulling $200,000 more a year in rent alone. Now you adjust fuel to match that and draw down more things that can accommodate larger aircraft under storage space. It will turn itself into an enterprise fund, not a general fund obligation. So doing stuff like that is what allows us to have bonus monies to pay down the debt sooner. But the short answer to it is, don't get into a loan you can't fund. The more you can cash fund on the front end, the less you're going to pay an interest in the back end, which saves citizens more money because it's all their money to begin with the exception of the bonus monies, impact fees, hot taxes that come from elsewhere.
Yeah. So you talked about like hotel fees and the bonus monies and all that kind of stuff. So what are your plans on, bringing in, businesses to get more of that, more of those bonus monies that you were just saying? So
with hotel motel, we've already, Joe Fackel and I, we got in October with the Texas Historic Commission to draw down the First Street program. We're in the asset collection mode right now to where we identify what works and what doesn't work. But it's a survey for all the stakeholders that are down there, all the business owners. We're still collecting that data, but what it's designed to do, it's a prerequisite to get into the Main Street program. Now, Main Street downtown, those cities are featured all over the state of Texas through government websites. Okay. Now, if you've got one that you want to sell, it gets listed on a specific page, and you can come in there as a potential buyer and say, I want to lease an historic property, or I want to purchase one. Now, if you're a First Street city, you're listed. If you want to go after grant funds, so right now, if you operate out of a historic designated building, you get a 25% federal income tax rebate. Don't have to own the building, you just have to operate a business out of an old building. A lot of people don't know that.
What are you doing here, man? I'm just kidding.
Well, we're not here. We're going into Texas Urban Putt. So that's
we'll talk about that in a minute.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a minute. But the First Street program was one of those first it doesn't make sense not to situations. Because you've got tourism, which is the vernacular we're familiar with. Then you've got heritage tourism, which is only derived from old stuff. I myself don't enjoy it. I'll go see something that's old. I think it's really cool, and I've checked the box. But statistically, the folks that do like that stuff have a lot more money. It's just what the data says. It's what the data says. Now, the Chisholm Trail Outdoor Museum is a huge draw for people outside of the state. Frankly, they're ranked number one in a lot of different areas. But between that, our historic downtown, and whatever happens next with the depot up here, and some of the ideas we have going south, we've been in talks with the previous mayor of Arlington about wanting to draw in a state-of-the-art sports complex. I don't know what ties he has to the family that owns it, or if he is family that owns it, but we want to draw down sports tournaments. If you have more than 12 a year, it allows you to use hot tax funds to maintain your sports complexes rather than general fund. So simply creating the area for kids to come down, play their sports tournaments, and go home unlocks potential revenue streams, bonus monies. But even more importantly, given its location, that's going to draw folks from out of town, allow them to spend money, maybe stay inside the city limits, check out our restaurants, some of our shops, and then go home, which I love that. But as far as drawing it down here quickly, time fixes that. I will say, putting the depot there, when it was there, was putting the cart in front of the horse. You can't rush that. Case in point, look at it.
Yeah. Well, that was before your time.
It was before my time, but they dropped the ball on that. And while it's very cool, it's there. We have to deal with it. But the Chisholm Trail was not going to suddenly decide, hey, we're not going to go through Burleson or Godley. We're just going to jump to Cleburne. It's not how that works. So time will correct it. I know that anchor retail needs more than rooftops because I've tried. Mm-hmm. Darren and New Era, they had $10 million in rebates to give away to businesses, specific businesses like we talked about a little bit ago. So if you've got sporting goods stores, retail apparel stores, or entertainment type situations, then their rebates really get the best bang for the buck. But it was theirs to give and to incentivize folks to come here. Mm-hmm. So I looked for different entertainment venues. I tried an Alamo Tap House, it's like a movie tavern, but different. I tried a Big Shots, which is Club Corps' franchise version of Top Golf, because they're still family owned. They all said no. And it wasn't because of the rooftops. It was because we didn't have the median income. We didn't have the traffic counts. We did have the proximity to a larger city, but that's only part of the puzzle. So there's bars due to timing alone that keep folks from coming out here. You don't want to just open the floodgates to whoever wants to come in, because you don't know what kind of housing they'll come cram in it. Mm-hmm. And the only controls we have over that sort of thing are zoning. And then beyond zoning, you've got planned developments. And there's a reason you see so many planned developments out this way. They got rid of being able to control what facade, they being Austin, got rid of being able to control what kind of facade goes on the houses that you build here.
Yeah.
Unless you want to incentivize it. Now, if you want to incentivize it, then they have to play ball with you. So if somebody comes in and say you create, another thing I want to implement is a neighborhood empowerment zone, because these impact fees, they hurt smaller builders, because it's in all reality it gets passed down to the homeowner at the end of the day, the one that's purchasing the property. And it's harder to sell a smaller lot or a starter home with a large impact fee on it. Now, the local builders, my move for them that I think is going to be effective is employing what's called neighborhood empowerment zones. They're essentially an area you draw on a map that says if you adhere to what we want you to do, we can rebate, because you can't waive impact fees, but you can collect them and then rebate it in another form. but you can create incentives if they adhere to those. Doesn't mean they have to do it, but a good example would be Mark and Sherry White's development there by the lake, the Harvest Hill development. They could have crammed a bunch of houses in there because it's their property. They can do what they want with it. But they made the right choice, in my opinion. They made the right choice. They put 1.5 acre lots, put nice homes there, which should go by a lake, frankly. But it also brought another type of house to our housing market that we hadn't had before. At least not in that much quantity. You've got custom builds here and there that are really nice, but never just a development full of them.
Right.
Now, the one that's happening right here, well, this office is going to be very similar. We don't have a lake right beside it, but the idea is you expand that type of housing, then you draw on the kind of clientele that you need to increase and check that box on the median income. The folks that can afford to live there can increase those numbers, which become more attractive to the larger outfits you want to draw down. They look at other things too. They look at the schools. You know, that's not within our control. If we're looking solely at what the city itself can control, I think NEZ's and incentivizing those nicer builds by getting rid of certain fees that would otherwise stand in the way, but also help our local builders and those that want to work on infill lots, I think that's paramount to get in the right housing stock down here. We got plenty of starter homes. There's nothing wrong with them. The folks that are in the industrial park especially, you got a lot of younger people trying to start a life. They need somewhere affordable to live. So I don't want to make it sound like I'm knocking that, because I'm not. But we have a lot of it. And if we want to change the game, we've got to up our game, so to speak.
Right on. So a question I do have is, I brought this up in a previous podcast with another candidate as well. So there's this whole thing of all these cities. They have the same thing. You know what I'm saying? The same kind of retail, the same kind of, downtown, the same this, the same that. There's all these chains out there now to where everything's so cookie cutter. Are you wanting to turn Cleburne into that? Are you wanting to, do you have different plans into actually making, more like mom and pop shops come up? So what's your plan on getting that, dealt with?
Well, I mean, the whole idea behind capitalism itself is that everybody's got an opportunity, right? They can, and your product's only worth what someone's willing to pay for it. We can't control somebody's decision as to whether, for example, a coffee at Mug on the Square or Nolan River Coffee is better than one at Starbucks. That's on them. They've got to promote their own product. But the thing is like these big companies, they do have the money. Sure.
So to me it's just, hey, I want to go see this town, and you get there and you're like, well, this town's pretty cool, but I passed 20 towns that are the exact same.
You mean I saw a Old Navy or a Ross right next to a Five Below on the way here
it's like
4 times.
I used to have a running joke of that La Quinta meant across from Denny's. So, I mean, I don't know I hope everybody pays attention to that, because almost every single time you see a La Quinta, you see a Denny's. Like,
we don't have a Denny's.
I know, and that was like we're the exception.
So we can address it in areas where we have some sort of control over incentives that are set down by the state.
Mm-hmm.
First example is the grant program we do in downtown. We need to up our game. A lot of the folks that decide, hey, it'd be cool to have an old building, they get in without full realization of what that means. Asbestos abatements, fire suppression, ADA compliance, elevators, chair rails, whatever you need to have. And I think that's why so many folks just use their downstairs. We have a whole lot of upstairs square footage in downtown. Nobody comes in or out of. I mean, we just got our bid for the elevator at Texas Urban Putt. It came in at $78,000. I thought it was going to be twice as much, so we're excited. But at the end of the day, our first facade grant was being used for awnings, things like that. It was a good shot in the arm to get us up and started and help some of these people that wanted to make it stand out in downtown as good as they could, their own business. But we got into the rehabilitation grant, which was it's a matching $25,000 program, which helped a lot. And it could be interior, exterior, but for the most part, it was helpful in helping with asbestos abatement. Ours was like $38,000. Fire suppression was about that also, and beyond that, it could be structural repairs. Tons of things can go into it, but at the end of the day, that's still not a lot. Now, what I'd like to see is us really bump up these hotel motel revenues, because you can use them to take care of historical property. I would love to see us pad that grant program with money from people that are coming from out of town rather than from the general fund, because then it looks selective, right? And that's also something you got to watch out for. You don't want to, as a mom and pop shop can come from anywhere. You could have somebody move down here from another place, hasn't lived here their whole life, and now they want the city to help them, but they live over by the lake and they want to open by the lake, or they don't have property in downtown. There has to be a reason behind taking care of smaller outfits and not taking care of the larger ones. I mean, you can't pick favorites. As much as I love mom and pop shops, if you're going to provide something out here, it's up to you to let the consumer know that it's worth it. We'll do everything we can in terms of allowing the city to be a partner to help, get it to where it needs to be, make sure it's safe, make sure it adheres to the guidelines. A lot of these larger outfits, though, have their own teams ready on standby, and it's a drop in the bucket to get going. It takes the mom and pop startups a little bit longer to come up with the funds and make sure that they have what it needs to not only get up and running, get up to code, but also stay open. So, no, to answer your question, I don't want to be like everybody else, because we're already not like everybody else. As I said earlier, we've got all the things: the lake, the golf course, the downtown, the industrial park, the airport, and leaning into that enough can be a game changer. And another thing I didn't mention, one of my favorite things that I'd ever done. I might have told you this before, but I was, when I married Jen, even when we were dating, she's so far beyond my league, I was always trying to one-up the one thing over the other. And I did the gondola ride in Irving where they, you lose a bottle in the water and you open it and like, oh, what's that? So you just scoop it up, open it, it's a big love note, but the guy that's driving the boat the whole time and singing drops it in there. He just goes in a big circle. And we went to Denver to see Journey in concert at Pepsi Stadium on a birthday.
Oh, that was cool.
And we ran into Valentine's Day. I'm like, man, how do I top this now? So we went to Delta Charlie's at the Dallas Executive Airport, and it was just a little bitty restaurant right there, the edge of the airport, and you go in. It was a Groupon thing I found. I paid like $120. I go in there. They give you like 3 menu options. They were all bad. It was just terrible. And then they give you a styrofoam cup. Or whatever you want from behind the bar. And then you and your date walk outside, and they've got all these single-engine pilots with their planes sitting there. And you got one of them ready for you. You just climb in the back, and they fly you around for 45 minutes. Then they land, and it's over. But it was so easy. It was so cool, because she had no idea we were doing that.
Yeah.
So we get intimate birthdays, engagements. It's just all kinds of stuff happens out here, and it's very simple. Well, I talked to our new airport manager, Clinton, and I was going over all this. I go, man, how cool would this be? I went to this place one time. He's sitting there just kind of smiling at me, and by the time I finally got to talking, he goes, I used to like run the watchtower over there. I go, oh, okay. You were just gonna let me keep going? He goes, yeah. He said, it's cool to hear that, it was exciting to somebody, especially from down here. But he and Michael visited all these different airports to find out what kind of unique businesses we could draw to this spot. And stuff like that matters. So, again, it goes back to the original point. We play to our strengths. We play to what we've always had. These opportunities are going to create themselves. It can't be up to council at the end of the day to make sure all the mom and pops are successful. All we can do is make sure the ISO 1 rating stays intact. Mm-hmm. The water's always available. You're not going to blow out a tire driving to work tomorrow. And that the people working here want to stay here. We just finished the Evergreen study and voted on it last night. And we went from the 55th percentile, 10 points up, to 65th. But we didn't just address police and fire like we have been the last, every 2 or so years. This one took over every department from a 30,000-foot view and gave us a new foundation to work off of. And now we're taking care of our folks at the wastewater and the water plant, the people in roads. We were missing the mark in a lot of places. And sometimes you got to hire outside help. And it's okay to say that and be honest about it.
No, I agree.
And our new city manager has done a real good job of drawing in the help in the areas that we needed help. And I mean, our airport guy, he's already checked his box, man. We have been in the red when it came to general fund every year. If it weren't for fuel, we'd be talking about how to slowly close it down when the leases run out. But because we put the right people in place, we've got a very real enterprise fund getting ready to come out and explode in terms of sales tax growth, but also rentals on hangar space. And as soon as we've got other groups out here, Joko Shuttle, for example, shout out to them. They're incredible. If we can find ways to draw visits down here, but also incorporate them, that's another way to unlock hot tax expenses or make it eligible. If you can tie a big event, and we do a lot of them, the Chamber's very good at this, between Cinco, Whistle Stop, July 4th, I mean, they do a whole lot with what they have, but you tie in a transportation mechanism to that, public-private partnership, then you unlock ways to also fund it and capitalize on the turnout.
All right. That makes sense.
I mean, the more folks you get, coming out here learning about Cleburne, the more money we make without having to dip into general fund to take care of our stuff.
Right.
We're not there yet. We can't substitute ad valorem with sales tax. Maybe in 20, 30 years, sure, we start talking about it, but that's coming from a conservative place. Mm-hmm. That's how I've grown up to know business. And I'm not completely. I like to underpromise and overdeliver. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
I'd love to say, we're going to be in a position to buy down ad valorem with something else in 20 years. If it actually were to happen in 10 or 15, great.
Right. Biggest thing about that, I think, is you just got to plan the best you can for what you think is going to happen, and then try to capitalize the best that you possibly can. So, hey man, I have to pee. If we can break for just a second, I have to pee, man, and I have a feeling that I'm not going to be as.
It looks like we're sitting in the dark.
I know the light's not on too, so I'm going to turn that on.
All right. We have paid the water bill, and we are.
All right, we're back. All right, man, what were we talking about? Is there any other? I think it was a pretty good stopping point. Is there any other politic points that you want to hit on, or you want to talk about yourself now?
No, I think I've talked about myself quite a bit. I would prefer to field any questions you might have had from people.
Ooh, from people?
Yeah, you talk to people, right?
I mean, I do talk to people. I don't know. I don't have any direct questions that I've had, like, actually from people about you. I mean, so the reason that I want to do this, I did not want to make this about politics. As you know, I've talked to you about that before. But, again, it is important. The city is important to me. This is where I live. And I started doing this because, I wanted to see what cool people were doing and talk to them and just have a good conversation and try to, put that out there for them. So, when the whole mayor race came up, and I've been kicking this podcasting around for years and years and years. Just finally decided to, pull the trigger. Some other hobbies, not necessarily in the that I can do at the moment. I have a little bit of an injury, and my hobbies that I like to do are, you have to sacrifice your body some. So, decided to kind of do this. But the big thing was the school bond thing. The fact that I don't care how anybody voted, to be honest, but that 3,500 people at both school bond things came out. And to me, I was like, that's pretty ridiculous. So I really wanted to try to get something out there that's not just politics, man. And you could say, I don't care. It's already been brought up on my first podcast, that I'm kind of doing it Joe Rogan style. And I'm doing it for a reason. I'm doing it so we could sit down and talk to people and actually air out like who they really are, instead of just some politician that's, I'm doing this, I'm doing this, I'm doing this, I'm doing all the right things. Look at me. So, I'm putting myself out there too. I know that I am who I am, and that is I'm sure that this podcast, I'm sure I'll piss people off, get some backlash or whatever. But I mean, it doesn't matter. Anybody's going to do that. It doesn't matter who starts a podcast. Nobody's going to be like 100% approval rate, right?
In some ways, you're more like a politician than you know.
Yeah, well, I guess. I did run for office that one time.
Yeah, and then you tried to lose, and then you won.
And then I won still. That was a weird situation.
So let's hear it here first then. Is the Joey Mims going to run again for District 3?
We shall see. It might happen. I don't know. I haven't made up my mind yet.
On the fence, huh? Classic politician.
Yeah, I'm still on the fence. Who knows? I mean, I don't know, man. I've always tried to find some way to help the community. And
well, that's how I met you.
Yeah, I mean, so this is one of those things that was like, well, I can sure as hell talk.
What was the first thing we did? Were we out at the crisis center doing all the yard work?
Yep.
Yeah, with the satellite club?
Yeah, I think that was the first thing we did, wasn't it?
I think so, yeah.
That was fun. Man. So I remember this. They were talking about they needed like all this mulch and everything else. I was like, we could just run out to the city. And I was like, I got to just load in the back of my truck. No big deal. And they literally just came to the back of my truck and dumped this whole thing. It covered like the whole top of my truck, the whole back of my truck. Like, I don't know, it may have been a new guy on the loader.
Stanky too.
But, yeah, it was
a
gross.
lot of fertilizer up in there or something. It was.
And when I left, I was like, I didn't bring any tarps or anything to like put over the top of it. And I literally was like putting my windshield wipers on, trying to get the mulch off so I could see to leave. Because I don't know why I dumped it over the top of my truck. Like, let it run off the back. You know what I'm saying? But that was pretty funny. And Chris Bittaker was there.
Yep.
And he was like, man, the lawyer, that he is. I can't believe you got here without having, an unsecure load. And I remember actually coming out of the parking lot, and I was swerving because I was trying to get rid of some of that stuff that was like seriously on top of my pickup. And I got it there though, and we used almost all of it. And man, we put in some work that day.
Yes, we did.
And I felt good about it. And yeah, I don't know. I just figured this is one of those things that I could do. I could talk and I don't know, keep people going, I guess. And
I'm glad to be a part of it, man. Regardless how this race goes, too. I think I'm gonna have no issue with gearing the council that's up and coming, and to, if it goes the other way, to supporting Derek, 'cause he's good people.
Oh, for sure.
That's the beauty of this race.
I enjoyed our conversation that we had. Man.
I mean, when I ran
it was a great conversation.
against Chris, it wasn't bad. I didn't know him as much as I knew Derek. And Michael, I knew less than Chris, but now he and I are good friends. And now that Derek and I are going, it's weird. I was in his house the other day. We were going over the Veteran Memorial, the 9/11 thing,
Mm-hmm.
and I said it on the record. I said, "Look, I'm not going to get involved with this because I don't want it to be politicized. Not that we would do that, but the public more than likely would. It just needs to get done. We've been talking about it a long time. He agreed, and then we went over to the chamber for the Veteran Committee meeting, and then went over to his house, and we were talking about the race, the 9/11 memorial, and I'm in there changing his twins' diapers, just chatting with him in his office. At his house.
He told me that. He told me y'all are good friends, and this is, we can go ahead and tell everybody this is not a hateful race.
No, not at least not with two of the three candidates. I can't speak for the third one.
I reached out to Doug. It was on Facebook. I don't have his phone number or anything. If anybody out there can put me in touch with him, I would love to have him on. I'm not trying to be biased in any way. I want to get anybody on that wants to air out their things. And I just want everybody to know, man, I want everybody to know who you guys are and who they're voting for. And it's fine. I mean, I hope he does reach out to me. I would love to have a conversation with him.
Did you call him?
Yeah, if I can get it, if somebody can send me his number or anybody has his, do you have his number?
No, but if you get on the city website, when he filed to run, he had to put that there.
Okay.
So it'll be in his paperwork.
Oh, that explains why I get so many spam calls.
You should know that.
Yeah, I know. I had to do that same thing. I get so many spam calls and text. It is insane, by the way. But I mean, I'll get almost anybody on here, just that are doing good things and what's good for the city of Cleburne and Johnson County as a whole. I mean, this is where I live, and this is where I'm trying to make a difference in a way that me as a person can really make a difference. Me, I worked odd jobs. I've done when I was working odd jobs, I wasn't asking for a lot of money. Man, when I started, I was asking for like $20 an hour.
I remember that actually, because you were all over Facebook, and you had anytime somebody would hop in there, you had your finger on the pulse, man. Somebody would get in there and say, "I need this trash hauled off," and you'd hop in there. "Will it fit on such and such trailer?" I got you. And then,
Yeah, I would ask for compensation, but honestly, there was people that would be like, "I have $40," and I'd be like, "That's cool," and I would just go do it for that. I mean, honestly, I will say that I was looking for extra money at the time, but
you redid Susie Jones?
I did.
Yeah, she was at Girard way back when I went to school there. She was one of the nurses. I had to go in there, and she'd always give me the meds. I don't think it's a HIPAA violation if it was me, right?
No, if you're saying it.
All right, cool. I don't want to get you in trouble, Joey. Anyway,
well,
good people, man.
Yeah, I probably should watch some of those YouTube video things that say like how not to mess up on YouTube, considering this is the only output that I have for this thing right now. But I haven't yet.
They'll probably tell you.
I don't know what like labels or anything. Yeah, I don't even know how that works. That's why I try to, like, I don't know, make everything kind of
Well,
weird.
either way, I don't know if you talked to Derek about it, but I'm 99% sure he'd do it. If you were to be elected, come up here, once a quarter or something like that.
Oh, that'd be great. I would love
Talk
it.
about what's going on with the city.
I would love to have that. I have already talked to you about this, and when I talked to Derek, it was off air. I didn't want to ambush him, on air. But I'm hoping to get both of you guys on, and if Doug ever, if I can get a hold of him and he agrees, man, we can all three sit down and have a conversation.
You want to do it like prior to or during early? We got 5 days till early voting, so like during it,
Just before the major election, just so, all three of y'all will be in here at the same time. That'd be super cool.
Well, the commute's really easy for me.
Yeah, that's for sure. You just gotta walk upstairs.
But if you get Doug in here, that'd be great.
I do want to put out there that I did. I'm going to say this, and you told me not to say it, but I'm going to say it anyway. When you allowed me to do this, I made it very clear that you had zero influence over anything that I was doing. So I don't. Yeah, I want to air this out. You may not want anybody to hear it, and I could edit this out if you want me to. But I did not. I was very pointed, I guess, to say that, hey, this is what I'm going to do. And you were super on board with that. You were like, hey, man, this is your thing. I'm not trying to get involved. I just have a spot where I didn't have to do it in my house. And that was super great of you, and I appreciate that.
The show?
Yeah.
Oh, shoot. Yeah, you shouldn't have said that. But now that you did, if I wanted to play it to my advantage, I would have probably gone first. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. Which I didn't even know if that, to me, being very new at this, you're my third episode, I don't know how that would turn out or not. I just knew that I wanted to get as many people as I could get on this thing that I think that are doing, cool things. And then with the mayor race going on, I was like, I didn't want to be biased and be like I'm trying to be one-sided or anything. So
I remember when we went out to the powwow they had at the Chisholm Trail Outdoor Museum, and Derek was there. They had him present the state flag because he's a veteran, and I was talking to him for a while before we had to go out there and pretend like we knew what we were doing as far as stomping on the ground, and it was pretty rough for both of us. But he goes, "Yeah, I gotta be back at your spot. I gotta go talk to Joey." Oh my God, that was today. But I love that he did, man. I wish I had another spot so it didn't look like it does.
It is what it is.
It could have. I wouldn't if it was anybody else wanting to set up a place. I'd like no way. But you're good people, man. You're salt of the earth people.
I'm glad. I'm glad you let me do it, even when I did put my foot down and be like, hey, man, like, and you were like, whoa, man, like I'm not trying to step in. I'm not trying to do it. I was just trying to make things happen for you. And
I hope it takes off so much that we have to put an elevator outside the door to be ADA compliant, so they can just walk right into your studio.
We probably got time. We probably got time for that.
It's above my pay grade.
I was gonna say I'm gonna have to make some money. If not, I'll carry people up here. I don't care. I'm pretty strong, I guess.
Well, in any case, I appreciate you doing what you're doing. It's a big deal. Just trying to get the word out. And frankly, like I said before, local is as high as I ever care to go, because that's where the government matters most to people. Or not matters most, especially nowadays, unfortunately, but that's where decisions most closely reflect citizens' day-to-day lives. Sorry, I got Corey Lee Murray over here calling me. Anyway.
But yeah, man, I really appreciate that. And yeah, so just wanted to air that out since everybody knows that this is where most people know this is where I am. So again, you're helping the community, and I'm trying, I don't want to be biased. I want everybody to be able to come on here and say what they have to say.
No doubt, man. I mean, at the end of the day, a lot of folks are... The reason the race is so hard to run is because typically, especially in the climate nowadays, the races the two-party races have turned into less of how am I going to make this better and address these issues, and more of how bad your decision is.
Yeah.
So it's a climate that most folks are attuned to, especially on the local level. I mean, I've been asked, are you Republican? Are you Democratic? Derek has too. And obviously it's a nonpartisan race.
Right.
Know? And Betsy Price told me, potholes don't vote.
That's true.
There's no letter next to your name when you walk in
true.
there. And that's why I love this. This is exactly why it's as far as I'd ever care to go. I feel like when you get into the partisan arena, a lot of the sanity goes out the window.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it's not to knock either side of the aisle, but I was converting some tapes over for my grandparents. I got one of these little doohickeys you can plug into a VHS and convert. You plug it into the red, white, yellow cables on the back. It's been a while. Anyway, you plug them in and you pop a little flash drive in the side of it, and you make sure it's on. You hit the record button, you hit the play button on a tape, and it digitizes your old VHS or VHSCs. And I wanted to bring back a bunch of old tapes of my mom, stuff like that, and give it to them for Christmas. And when I was doing that, I found some old commercials that were hilarious. Just stuff that was so outlandish you wouldn't see today. But then I got into there was a debate between Clinton and Russ Perot, and the debate that they had clearly set the standard for not only the respect people had for each other at that time, and that's the world we lived in. I mean, you could be Democrat or Republican, but once the race was over, it was over. You get behind the guy in charge, and you find a way to move forward, and you don't tear each other up for the time in between.
And, a big advocate for that, too. Yeah, why aren't we on, Team America right now with everything? Not to, again, didn't really want to make this political, even though that's how I'm kind of starting. But
That's a good point.
I just wanted to sit here and talk shit with my friends, to be honest. But and people that are doing really cool things in the community that I think need to be told about. But this is important, and I mentioned earlier that voting's important. The fact that ISD bond thing, I mean, so we're at like how many people are we at? Like 38,000 or something like that.
If you're talking about the ISD, it's going to rope in
it's
people,
even more.
Even in the ETJ.
Yeah, it's even more.
Call it 40.
So even if you say 40, the fact that 3,500 people showed up, I was like, man, somebody's got to do something. And I know there's another podcast out there that is political only, and that's cool. I'd love to have that guy on too.
That Greg,
yeah,
the Transparency Project, he's good people.
He's probably got a bigger following than me, but like get him on here and what inspired him to do that, because that's important to me too. Like that he's doing that. Because
time out. We got wife calling. Hold
that's
on.
Cool. We'll cut this up. I don't even know where I was. Oh,
Greg Cooper, Texas Transparency.
he's mainly politics. Because I remember I did come to you and I was like, hey, do you know anybody else? Because you know a lot more people than I know. I know quite a few. It's kind of weird to me that I am at the age where I know all these people that are doing really cool things, and I don't know, nobody's talking about it. I try to share posts and stuff like that, but
You know more people than you think you do, especially with the job that cannot be named.
yeah, but can't.
You know people I wish I knew, which is why you should run for office.
I got no flux. I was like, that's knowledge.
With that attitude.
I really don't have any flux. I don't have PE on the end of my name, so nobody cares.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, I don't know. We can get away from that.
Gear switch.
But yeah, man. This thing is just all about getting y'all out there. I mean, it's not really about me. And then again, you don't hear me talk too much in the first two podcasts either. I'm kind of sitting there listening. Have some banter going back and forth every now and then, but like for real, I just want people to understand that like this community, there's a lot of really, really good people in this community, and they need to know about it. And they do need to know about that. The race between you and Derek is it's not some weird crazy.
They could have a worse race on their hands.
Yeah, for real. You got two guys that are good, pretty good buddies that have served on council together. Y'all both know what you're talking about. You both know how the city works. You may have some conflicting ideas here and there, and Derek has agreed to come on with you as well, and I hope to air that out. And again, I hope to get Doug on if he does actually want to do that. That'd be great.
If you have the time, it might be more beneficial to the public to have Derek and I, and then all three of us.
That would work. I mean, I could do that. Considering he's been pretty silent right now. I mean, it's only been like a week, but
it's no shade on the other guy. It's just Derek and I differ on one spot, and that's buying down ad valorem or don't buy down ad valorem, because my belief is the way the state makes its money, we're one of the 7 states that do not levy a state level income tax. Until they change the rules, we don't need to change ours. We need to stay the course. Growing takes time. Growing right takes even more time. And we can't flip the switch overnight and suddenly check all the boxes and get all the shiny things that we'd like to see. The heart's there, though, on every line item, no matter what it is. The staff, fire, readiness, infrastructure, roads. I mean, and I don't know of a local politician that wants it to not be great. But for the most part, since we've served the last 3 years, deliberated on, every issue, we've seen eye to eye. I think if you go back, there may be 1 or 2 resolutions we didn't both vote for. And that matters. We've got a track record of working together. We see eye to eye, but when it comes down to that one thing, and it's a big thing, how does the city of Cleburne make its money? More importantly, how does the city of Cleburne make its money when we're on the precipice of how the state's deciding how it wants to make its money?
Correct.
And there's the uncertainty. I think that's what hurt the ISD bonds more than anything, because we were in the middle of the voucher world.
Yeah.
If your big selling point on bonds is capacity, well, what about these vouchers that are going to pay for homeschool kids?
Mm-hmm.
How many parents are going to choose to homeschool because they're going to get that money? That sounds crappy, but it's the reality,
Right. No,
and that's the tip of the iceberg. But don't blend local and state if you don't have to. Live in the world and play the hand you're dealt.
Oh, I agree with that.
But that's the only thing. Now, I do know that Mr. Schweitzer has different feelings about the way the city's been ran. And I had mentioned before, once you're beyond the veil and you get a grasp of what's really happening, it always changes. And at least in my experience, anyone I've ever talked to that has become an elected official, their perspective changes once they've lived it. And I do know that Doug would like to remove the mayor-council form of government. He'd like to get rid of the head departments, get rid of the city manager. He would prefer the city be run like the county and the commissioner's court is, where they handle all the day-to-day. They become the general managers. They get paid to be in their position. They want to take it to 4-year terms. Or he wants to take it to 4-year terms. And
So I'll tell you my opinion on that. At a local community, if you want to take away that stuff and be full-time positions that are getting paid, I know what those full-time positions pay. I don't know what he has in mind for paying the mayor and the city council or whatever. But in my opinion, if you want a paid position in politics, there has to be one thing, and that's term limits. Because you can't have somebody that's just, dude, I'm sorry. You're sitting there, these people in Congress that have been there for 60 years. That's insane to me.
I have a twofold response to that. So we saw on the ballot here recently the proposal for term limits. That's going to correct a couple things. Even at a local level where we don't get paid, imposing term limits isn't the worst thing. The only thing that not getting paid to be in office negates is any implication. There's ways around it, but for the most part, any implication that you're incentivized or you have your arm twisted to vote one way versus the other. It's harder to get kickbacks when you're not paid to be here. It's harder to get kickbacks when you've got when you're the representative of the part of the city that votes you in, and depending on whether or not you stay in that position revolves around whether or not you adhere to their wishes versus whether or not you retain that paycheck.
Mm-hmm.
So on the term limit part, 100%. It would check a lot of boxes, but the biggest one I feel like it would check, even at the local level, and I'd be okay to term limit myself if I were to be elected, even on council, in an unpaid position. It would fix your apathy problem on the voters.
I agree with
that. A lot of these
too.
voters feel like when they walk into that booth, they could check the box for something different, but it's not going to matter.
Yeah.
Because on the paid positions, the dollars are too deeply rooted. And on the unpaid positions, everybody knows that guy. Might as well stay home.
Yeah. I agree with that. So, what are your thoughts on the term limit part? Like,
we're supposed to be.
How many terms do you think? How many terms do you think somebody should have in their position?
That boils down to how long the term is. The county's got 4 per term, and their retirement plan, they're fully vested after 2 terms.
Mm-hmm.
Cleburne, whole different animal, 2 years per term. So I don't know that you match that. 8 years is a long time. But at the same time, you've got to take into account how often the legislature gets together when the off years fall in. Mm-hmm. I think it would take a total overhaul of the way they structure it. And term limits at their core would address the apathy situation, but more so create a climate where the sitting folks in office, especially at the local level, it would create a climate to where they want to become kingmakers, and that's what they should be. Aside from doing what we do, if I were to term out, say in 4 years, I had 2 2-year terms, I should be beating down doors, talking to people about real change and make my years matter, but at the same time, trying my best to identify the folks that do what I do, that have the time to show up to the meetings, that can commit to making a difference when somebody freaks out or has an issue on Facebook, or they want to, like the most recent one I had, a girl was complaining about where her trash can was and how the lady next to her got dumped over. She got on Facebook to talk about, my neighbor shouldn't have to suffer, cough all the way to the curb, take it out to a certain spot so the trash truck doesn't knock it over. And she's absolutely right. Our folks got a standard of service to deliver. But that bled into so many other things that I wouldn't have identified if I didn't go over there. But she got chastised for it on social media.
Yeah.
People came in there, oh, you called a mayoral candidate to fix a trash can? What happened when you call sanitation? Why are you not going through the proper chain of command? But that's the beauty of not being paid in this position. We exist outside the chain of command. At the end of the day, because of the mayor-council form of government, we, the council and the mayor, or the board of directors, if you will, we hire the CEO, which is
the
city manager.
Yeah.
And if he doesn't perform, board of directors has the hammer, i.e. the citizens that put us there. But that's not communicated enough. Now, anyway, term limits, kingmakers. We need to be actively out there identifying who can carry the torch. More so, we should probably put a resource out there detailing what exactly the job is, term limit or not, and offer a resource for folks willing to do this. This is service work, 100%. Yeah. I have been beaten up and dragged through the mud more in this last 6 months since announcing I was going to run than I have been since I got elected to office. And the council position was one thing. District 2 is highly sought after. That's where a lot of the voters exist in the city, and where a lot of the decisions come from, just because they all show up to the polls.
Mm-hmm.
But this is a whole nother animal, man. I mean, I've been attacked personally. The whole city now. My family's been attacked. My business has been attacked. My integrity's been attacked. And it's a lot to stomach. If I weren't in insurance, I mean, on a good day for me, on a regular day, folks call me because their policy went up by $1 and some change a month, and then I'm dishonest. On a good day, somebody's house burned down, and now I'm their best friend because they need to get paid. So,
yeah.
The end of it all, in my line of work, my day-to-day, people are mad at me all the time because the insurance market has not gotten better since I got in it 14 years ago. And the only time I matter to them is when the crap hits the fan.
Mm-hmm.
It's really not that different than running for local office.
No, I agree with that.
You know what I mean?
I agree with that. I mean, I took a little bit of backlash on social media when I had to turn down my position that I won. Again, I've explained this before on another podcast, but it was out of my control. Again, it's an unpaid position, and at the end of the day, I had to make a decision if I want to take an unpaid position or live without my livelihood. So
it's an important consideration. I believe the beauty of the unpaid position is not just anybody can jump in and run. You have to be
willing.
You have to be willing and
to
you have
sacrifice
to be able. And in some ways, that box checks itself. If you have the ability to come to these meetings, be the face of the city you represent, close deals on the other side of the table on behalf of a whole city, that means either you're financially stable enough, somebody's supporting you financially, or you can't fill the gap. Inherently, the requirements of the job, if you're going to do it well, filters folks that are not suitable. I couldn't do this right now if I didn't build this business up enough to where I can come and go freely, if I didn't put the right people in place freely. Frankly, I think I'm the only candidate. Can't confirm. We can ask if we get them here, but in the race that I think it's going to come down to the most, I am the only candidate that grew up here, that employs here, and that actually owns his own businesses, and is still trying to implement policy that I will either reap or suffer the outcome of. And that matters. I know what policy decisions do on both sides of the table, private and public, because I live it every day. My job in risk management is to determine where the gaps are and figure out how to fill those, not only for property loss, but also lawsuits. I'm not an attorney, and oh my goodness, I can't tell you how many phone calls I get for legal advice. And I have to tell them, I'm not an attorney. I mean, inherently, every application we do for a commercial business, and we do everything from mom and pop shops to multi-million-dollar oil and gas businesses, long-haul trucking, that stuff here, California, Louisiana, Colorado, it's all over. And the playbook that we've built over time is just, is your hiring practice good? Are your policies good to protect the people that work for you? Have you covered your base on your insurance? How are your loss ratios? Are you doing things you could do different that will benefit the organization as a whole if you make some minor tweaks? And what you find is every one of those processes are communicable to any kind of business that exists in the United States, even a city. And so, by and low, at the end of the day, I came in here thinking I'm frustrated about the building and standards process. I don't think they should have done that. I have an axe to grind. I should run for office. And then before you know it, I've got everybody and their grandma telling me, hey, you had some good thoughts. You should run. Prayed about it. Realized I have the time to actually do this. And I have the mindset to close deals because I've been doing it since I was 23 years old. I might as well sign up and I'll figure it out. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. But I feel like I truly have something to offer to the people that live here and the city that raised me, because the city did raise me through the trauma that my family went through, and frankly, the trauma that those that raised me went through, including citizens out in the community. Because, again, as I said earlier, the beauty of a small community is more than, thanks for seeing me today, I'm going to pay my bill, I'll see you later. It's, how much was it this month? Thank you. How's the family? What's that church you go to? Can I step in? Where do you normally get your oil changes? How's HEB's prices versus Albertsons? How is that thing still open? It's so far out of the way. Is Albertsons still the watering hole? It smells like smoke in there all the time. Have you been bowling lately? There's no limit to the questions that you get. And that was before I ever ran for office. But that's small town, man. And that's why you can be so successful if you have people skills and a mind for business and the ability to be present and genuinely have time to care about the lives that you influence. That's what you're doing here right now.
And it is.
And that's why I'm so passionate about your project. Regardless of all this, I think it's cool you did it. Frankly, I would have stayed out of politics. I don't consider local level politics because it's not two-party system.
Yeah, I know you were kind of surprised when I was like, hey, I want to have you and Derek on. And you were like, what? You're not a politics guy. And I was like, I'm not a politics guy. I don't care how people vote, to be honest. I have my own opinions, and people, man, it doesn't matter what opinion it is on both sides.
You are the embodiment of what small-town communities yearn for, and that's small-town communication and care. This right here is why people move from large cities like those. What you're doing right now, what we're doing right now, is exactly what people come to Cleburne to be a part of. It's just, if something doesn't make sense, where can I get simple communication? And you're overrun with people more than willing to give it.
That's very correct, because I that was another reason why I started this thing too, is because there was things out there that I was like, hey, you got to make this make sense to me. I'm a pretty smart guy, but I'm not the smartest guy in the world, and I don't know everything, and it's hard to get a grasp when you're just trying to research this and research that. But talking to people, I've learned things, and it gets my mind going, man. I'm a nerd. I research things that people tell me and things that people say. And so I knew that this would kind of, get me active again. I've taken a big step back from social media, because to me, social media is not a real place. You brought that up earlier. Man, social media is not a real place. For one, you got all the anonymous people out there that are saying God knows what. And I don't know. Stay out of the comment section, man. Keep doing what you're doing and keep plugging away. And but there's things out there that I want to know, and I think there's lots of things out there that I know that I want other people to know, and I don't want to sit here by myself and just rant on, oh, you should know about this or you should know about that. I figured I could just get people on and we could just talk about it, and that was one of those things. But coming back to the term limit thing. So what do you think like a good term limit is for the local office? Because you only get 2 years in there.
Well,
for one term.
It's not something I thought about, and I don't have an answer I could give you right now that would. I'm sure I could give you an answer and then tomorrow immediately regret what I said. So
right.
I'll leave that alone. Most of it is because we're staggered. And, the mayoral race falls on districts 1 and 4, and then 2 and 3 are their own thing. I already think that being staggered creates its own issues, but also our next form of government is twice as long as any of ours. And then you get up to higher offices, and you have to take into consideration, like I said, when the state's actually in legislative session. And if we were going to term out, we need to do it in a way that makes the elected officials more effective. And the reason I bring that up, we just got out of legislative session, right? But the mayor, the District 1 and District 4 are now up for their 2-year term. You can act on what you have handy based on what just finished and what they decided on, special session and all. What about next year when 2 and 3 have to go? They're going to be a year closer to the next session with less time to act, especially if it's new people. It creates problems that are unintended, especially if you're going to term out. It's unfair. Almost as unfair as the way it's set up right now. With Derek, if he runs
and
he loses, he doesn't get his seat back. I do. I don't think that's fair.
I agree with that too. So I will tell you my opinion on it. I think that in my opinion, it's the most powerful person in the world, which is the President of the United States. He gets 8 years. I would think that 8 years in a local government, so that's 4 terms. And it seems, it sounds like a lot, but honestly, where do you really get your grip of everything that's going on? You get 2 years in, I know me doing 2 years of anything, I'm still trying to get my feet stable under me, and figure everything out. So that's, 4 years. So only 2 term limits, just like if you're doing like the president, you only get 2 terms and then boom, you're out, which I've heard a lot of people say. And it kind of makes sense, but still, again, it's like then you get you're constantly trying to get people in that are trying to figure it out as well. So I think like a good 8 years is like a good tap out for me that I would like to see for like all elected positions. But again, at this local level, I'm just one person. I want to know what everybody thinks. And because I'm just an idiot, man. I'm just some idiot out there that has my own opinions, and they're not right all the time. Just like your opinions aren't right all the time, just like anybody's opinions aren't right all the time, and they're ideas. And we shouldn't be married to them for one thing. Just because they're yours doesn't mean anything. And that's another reason why I kind of started this whole thing too, so we can get, because the only way that you get better ideas is when you sit down and talk about ideas. And so, I mean, that's kind of my thought process of it. But I mean, me seeing that now, I mean, what's your opinion on that?
Well, it's like I said a little bit ago. We have the benefit of being closer to the people at the local level. We should be king makers.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
Because if we're doing what we truly should be doing as mayor and council, we are in front of the people as much as we possibly can be. And so we can identify those candidates. And those candidates should be able to identify themselves, whether that looks like a resource that's put online about what the job actually entails, or it's the elected official themselves talking more and more about what they do. When I showed up to this person's house with trash cans, they called me interim mayor.
Well, I mean,
I get mayor pro tem.
Wrong language, but
yeah, pro tempore. The jargon can be over the top, but the details matter.
Mm-hmm.
When you put out there interim mayor, it makes it look like I'm the guy for now, and that's not what that is.
It's not. We still got a mayor.
And so more so, the council put me here. The people did not.
Mm-hmm.
And the position is important. But I wish that by the time I left this girl's place and she got on there and she posted her frustration, which was warranted. I mean, the timing of it all was pretty messed up. I'd like to also say, and it's just very current on social media, everything's been resolved and in their favor, which I was happy to deliver. My track record stays intact. Anytime somebody's ever called me about an issue, I've had it wrapped up, usually within 2 weeks. We'll call it 14 business days. Anyway.
Your business days.
Under promise, over deliver. So, anyway, I wish she would have been armed with enough information just publicly to be able to go out there and say, either Blake from District 2 or Blake, Mayor Pro Tem came out, because interim mayor had its own level of nuance. People started to, that itself sowed discord and distrust in the city. And I didn't come out there and tell her, hey, if you ever post this, you need to be sure and not call me acting mayor.
Acting mayor. Temporary mayor. Mayor that shows up, whatever.
I like to tell people, and they're wanting to know. I said this at the GBX thing when they did the rail cars with the 250th anniversary of the U.S.
Yeah.
I said they're throwing out. Oh, what did the guy say? They kept throwing around Mayor Pro Tem quite a bit, and then one of the admirals that came up said Mayor Protem, which sounded like something else. But I had to get up there and clear it up. I go, look, I'm just going to make this a lot easier. Just call me backup mayor.
Okay.
When the one that's here can't be here, I got to do his thing. And so
another question just popped in my head. So if you do get the chair, what are your ideas for mitigating that? What you just said, the uneducated, that people just don't understand what exactly
What's going on?
yeah, what's going on, what council does, what the job really is, what's going on. Did you have any ideas of mitigating that?
Absolutely. So the easiest one, I'm very common sense. Occam's razor was the coolest thing I ever discovered, which is, for those that don't know, Occam's razor, the theory of Occam's razor is the simplest solution is often the best one. Or the KISS method, keep it simple,
Yeah.
stupid. Put a QR code on the water bill that leads to every upcoming, well, the landing page that we have on the website right now just says, here's your upcoming council dates, here's the previous minutes, going back to as far as, I guess, our servers can show the digitized versions, but also it'll allow you to play around for folks that hadn't been on the website. It's got everything right there. It shows mayor, council, what they do, city budget. It's all public, and it's all readily available. Most people don't think to go on a City of Cleburne website. If you put it on the water bill, and a way to access it all at once, because obviously you can't put a whole website on a water bill, but you could put one there and say, hey, want to know anything that you could possibly want to know about the City of Cleburne? Pull your camera out.
Right.
I realize some folks might not be able to do that. Maybe add a phone number. Can't figure out the QR code.
Put the
call
website
this,
on there too.
and then put all the councilmen's phone numbers on there. You know what I mean? District, whichever. But you know what I mean. It's you
Right.
can't say that there eliminates the excuse of I didn't know what's going on. Either you didn't take that extra step to find out, or you don't check your bills before you pay them.
I like that. Nah, seriously, that's a good idea, actually. It's a super good idea.
And it's, I mean, the distribution system's already in place.
So, what about like city bios? You know, putting on the council. You know, it's been a minute since I've been on the city website, so I'm trying to think if this is
Like
actually a
who
thing.
who the council members
Yeah,
are. Where
they
come
actually
from.
are they actually there
Yeah,
with
it's
their
a
picture
thing.
and stuff? And I'm sure they have bios and stuff of who they are. Maybe those be updated a little more, but actually just put like I like that too of like every single time like here's the meeting minutes of here's what they talked about, here's how they voted, here's how this. I like the transparency of that because I mean we are or y'all are government.
No, I like that. Continue saying we are. That implies you're going to.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm not government, but
Not yet.
maybe we'll see. I know you're pushing for it. It's just one of those things of like one thing at a time right now. I'm trying to get this thing under my thing. But and here's another thing. I don't even know what the rules are with being in city and what I can and can't talk about. That's another thing I have to learn as well being on here. But still being in this, starting this thing too, one of my ideas is, yeah, I mean, the people that would agree, of course, I can't force anybody to come on here. It's especially, I mean, of who I am and all this kind of stuff. I'm a nobody, why would the council want to come on? But I would love to just every now and then, like, hey, just have this council member on it. Let them talk about what's going on and what they're passionate about. And what's going on in the city, and again, that's another reason why I'm doing this whole damn thing. So.
Well, and when I ran for council, I wanted to do more town halls, but in the demographic you represent, right? So I've been very careful not to step across district lines and talk to citizens in areas that I wasn't elected to be in. It's a respect thing for the other councilmen, but also for the other citizens that elected that person to office. Hold them accountable. Now, some of them might not be so gung-ho about putting the information out there or getting involved. In my opinion, you're going to eliminate yourself not being a representative of the people that voted you in to be the representative, and that can work its own self out. But methods like this, even somebody just setting a camera up and talking to it, and then sharing it, creating a page, District 3, District 2, District 1, and talking about what happened, giving a brief summary, or doing once a quarter thing, hitting the highlights of the stuff that really matters, 'cause we do all have lives to live.
Right.
But we ran for these positions and got them knowing full well it wasn't a cakewalk. We're here to make real change. And you can't make real change. You can make change. You can't make real change if you don't have buy-in from the folks that are there. Case in point, when I walked the east side, Jared Rockhold and I went out we took Tank and Sherrod from, know a lot of the prominent families there, been around for generations, and they went to invite us to talk with them, meet with them, give our bid for what we're running for. One of the things that stuck out to me was Bradshaw Park. Okay, when that was brought to us, and it's not a very big park. It's a basketball court and like a couple benches right off of Brazos. When it was proposed to us, Aaron had given us the gist of this is kind of tore up, this kind of tore up. So what we plan to do, we still have this for a traffic barrier, the gate, but we're going to remove this side so people can come on and off the court easier. It makes the basketball court less of a prison look, so to speak. And we're going to redo the benches. We thought, yeah, that's great, and it's in budget. It's going to be a good thing for the east side. Rubber stamp. We went over the walk the other day, and we pulled up by Bradshaw, and Tank and Sherrod, they go, okay, we pull over. I go, okay, so we get out of the car, and he goes, we're going to give you a history lesson on the cage. I go, the what? And he said, the cage. I go, the basketball court? I said, yeah, the cage. I said, all right. And he said, I know the city was trying to do something nice, but they, in one foul swoop, unanimously killed a big piece of the heritage of the east side here. I go, what do you mean? And they said, first of all, and they went to the safety first. I think it's because Tank knows I'm in insurance. He knows. We scooted the fence, chain link fence, back a little bit off the concrete, which causes gravel problems. I mean, it's getting kicked up here. People are slipping on it. It's a mess. I go, okay. So scoot that back. He goes, yeah, but it's more than that. They called it the cage for a reason, and the reason was twofold. One, having that perimeter around the basketball court meant there were no out of bounds, and that was a big deal for up-and-coming players. Two, it was coined, the cage, by professional ball players, a lot of WNBA players that have been through there and have written on testimony of being in Cleburne and playing on that court, growing up, learning, teaching other kids. And we have no recollection of it. We have no record of it, except for the folks that lived there. But there was no buy-in. There was no communication. Whenever the project came down, you had the council thinking we're doing a good thing. And it could have been doing better. It was a good thing. And they said, yeah, the rest of this is nice. And if you want this grass to stay nice, you should probably put the cage back and leave the gate over the concrete. Otherwise, kids are going to be running on and off the court all the time and tear it up. Anyway, we'd effectively undone a lot of generations of history there. It can be corrected still, and it should be, but I thought, man, can you imagine if we did kind of what we did at the John Warren Sports Complex, and we just put like a granite thing out there in the middle of where the concrete meets, talk about the major players that played there when they were coming up and learning. That's a huge piece of not only the culture on the east side, but what makes Cleburne, man.
Yeah, no, I get that.
And then we got over to the Carver Park, and Tank said they have a lot of sticker bugs. I go, what are sticker bugs? He goes, stickers. I go, why did you say stickers?
Yeah, you already said stickers.
He
like,
said
just leave it at.
Why are we making this harder than it is? But he wasn't wrong. I mean, they have got a lot of green space. It's not irrigated. And that's part of what I told him. I go, well, you know how you kill stickers, right? He goes, burn them. I go, no. You water it. And so you water it.
Really? I just always pulled them.
Ew, no. Ow. No, you water it. And it's not irrigated. I don't know how complicated that would be to fix, but it was a hopping place way back in the day when we had the pool that was out there. I swam in that thing when I was a kid.
Oh, I've been out there multiple times.
And they added a splash pad, which was nice, but you got a lot of green space where you can't enjoy it. Kids can't run around out there at birthday parties. I mean, and that stuff matters, man. The world's completely gone bananas post-internet. You're lucky to get kids off these freaking devices and get the VR sets off their head, but it doesn't help when your parks aren't hospitable to the people that live near them.
Right.
And the communication and the buy-in from the districts we're elected to represent matter. I had egg on my face from a buddy of mine. I was best man at his wedding, and they live here in my district. And his wife had called, and he said, "Why was it not brought up? Y'all are doing this Lakeshore Park thing. It's part of an $8 million bond or 4B bond package we'd all approved. Why was there no consideration for disabled kids?" And there wasn't, dude. I felt like garbage. I go, because I don't live in that reality, and I didn't think about it, and I didn't talk to anyone else except the park staff, and I didn't do my job. Although it's a non-paid one, still didn't do my job. And that's something I plan to address moving forward. Can still be fixed now, course corrected, but it's part of it, man.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not accommodating to everybody. There's no statute says we have to be, but if we're truly representing the folks that live here, we got to represent all of them, man.
You know, one thing that I do like that you're saying is representative. I like that. That's because that's honestly, we only elect representatives.
Yeah. You told me that the other day. You said, "Stop saying leader," and that stuck with me. Because you're not wrong. You know, you don't lead anything. I lead my business.
Yeah, I mean,
but
you may be a leader, but you're not our leader.
I built that as an elected official. You don't lead anything. You're the voice for the people that put you in power. The leaders that decided to vote to put you in power.
Correct.
And they're a very small minority. As we discussed, those are the real leaders.
Right. Yeah, no.
I'm going to live my life and bet on this person to, carry the torch because I feel like they have the qualities and the ability to represent, not to lead. We represent the folks that want us to hire the people to lead the city. That's the whole point of the mayor council form of government.
Yeah.
So you were 100% on that. Another egg on my face moment, but I run into those every now and then.
Yeah, well, at least you're opening up about
Honest
it.
about it.
You're being open and honest about it. I mean, can't hold you, we all mess up.
It's the beauty of not getting paid.
It ain't like I ain't messed up before. I'm not a perfect person. Yeah, I'm a messed up guy. But honestly, that's where I learned. Who really learns from, what they've done? Everything went right. Did you learn anything from that? I mean, yeah, you might have learned a few things here and there, but honestly, it's like I learn from my mistakes, and I'm not afraid to make mistakes. One of the reasons why I'm the idiot that's doing this right now is because I'm sure I'll make plenty of them, and
Yeah, well, I gave you a few, but I will say, I've said it before, I'll say again, watch out for the folks that have all the answers. I mean, the second somebody knows everything is the moment they cease to know anything. And you've always got to be learning. It's no different for your elected officials, but the best way for them to learn is to gather input. And folks are living their daily lives. Man.
Oh,
They
for sure.
can't. They're not going to go out of their way to give you a daily report of what's going on. You got to go to them.
And I agree with that. It's kind of a shame that that's the way it is, but we're all so busy now. Everything is busy. It just seems like we have to do so much more with our lives these days. Not only do you have to take care of your family and your kids and all this other stuff, but now it's like, oh, but now I got to keep up with what the city's doing, what the CAD board's doing, what the school board's doing, and we got to keep up with this, and we got to keep up with that. I mean, it get pretty exhausting, and again, going back to me being a nerd and trying to research things and trying to figure out this and that and this and that. It's hard. It's extremely hard. And I do think that we need representatives in there that are more proactive in what does the community really want. I will, shameless plug again, with fishing poles for kids. I mean, that guy is, what he's doing, it doesn't sound like much. He's just giving away fishing poles at Hewlin Park every year. He's been doing it for 7 years now. But it's not just him handing out fishing poles to kids. So many people in the community are out there. And it doesn't matter if they have differences of opinions about politics. It doesn't matter if anybody, you know what I'm saying? Nobody's talking about that. You know what they're talking about? Hey,
They're talking about the kids getting off their butt
right,
and being offered an opportunity and being handed something they would have otherwise not been. They
getting the kids out there in the world, for one thing.
They didn't have to apply for it. They just had to show up.
They just had to show up, and everybody's talking about, what'd you catch? What'd you catch, man? Did you catch anything? And that's kind of cool to me. It's just one day for a few hours every year. But honestly, that right there, that one little thing, I don't know. It stuck out to me, and I know other people do so many other things in the community. And that, to me, that's just super special.
Yeah, no, it's a big deal. I mean,
we can all actually come together on something.
There was a post about a bunch of trash by the Western Inn down Business 67. There was so much fuss about it, and the group took it on themselves to go clean it out. And then the next week, another kid came on there. This is very recent. Another kid came on and said, hey, saw a post about people getting upset, and the community picked it up. We want to jump in and help. We'll try to do it, once a month. If there's something really crazy, overgrown, let us know how we can help.
I did just see that. I took a screenshot yesterday.
That's small town. You think that's going to happen in Fort Worth?
No, man. I did see that these kids were saying, like, clean up Cleburne, and that's what they wanted to do. They just wanted to get out there and help clean up the town. And that's what I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. That kind of stuff right there is why I wanted to do this. And I'm no, public servant, I guess. I'm not a elected official or anything else. I'm just some idiot that can afford a microphone, I guess, which is not that expensive, by the way.
Servant, man.
It's way less expensive than you think it is to do something like this.
if you don't have the time to perform the acts they're doing, but you have the time to plug them in, you plug them in. That's what you did.
That's what I'm doing.
So twice now, actually, for two different people. So.
What do you mean? What did I do the first time?
Well, you plugged in the guy that I talked about.
Oh, gotcha.
You plugged in your guy 2 times. And I'm just saying, your track record is pretty good so far.
I'm trying. So, other than, politics and stuff like that, what do you like to do for fun, man?
Not work all the time. Keep my... I don't know, man.
That's a lie.
No, it's not. As of recent, man, it took me about 8 years into my career to learn the difference between owning and managing a business. And I realized if your business can't function without you there, do you really own it or do you manage it? And that's not me. That's like 20 self-help and be better books on business that I read. All say the same everything. So finally got with the program, but what killed me more than anything, still does, is, well, not so bad since they're in school now. I take my kids to school every morning, and I'll wake them up. I do the breakfast the whole bit because Jen's got to pick them up later. But it used to kill me walking out the door, having to go handle everything else, and them looking at me like the dog does when you leave. Doesn't matter between. It doesn't matter what time it is. They're gonna scream at you like you're never coming back. And you can tell them, but it's not real. We're still
That's
gonna
true.
freak out. Yeah, I guess now. I don't know. I've got side gigs going on, work with the Texas Urban Putt project. I met
Talk about that.
Jared Rockhold.
I'm having him on tomorrow, actually.
Yeah, it's gonna be awesome.
I can't wait to have him on. I just recently met him a few months ago, and super cool guy.
I got so much
Loaded.
respect for that guy.
Loaded with information. It's like I have a question about something, and he's like, I have an answer, and just he has lived the life. I can't wait to have him on tomorrow.
He is the embodiment of. He's the embodiment of what it means to be a blue collar worker that knows everything. I think the good Lord puts the right people in your way, and I barely known him for a year. It was just a year, a little bit ago, and it's gauged off of his son's birthday, which is where I met him. And Jim was supposed to take Aiden to it, and I won't go over his background. I don't want to take away from his
Right.
podcast,
Yeah, I hear
but
you.
man, since I've known the guy, he's become the GC on the project for Texas Urban Putt. He's got me in real well relationship wise with the Beaumonts, which was really cool. We've moved his Akaushi out to our farm property over there, where we're doing a farm to table deal with the red Wagyu. I've learned more about cows than I'd ever learned in my life. Love doing it. It's kind of a hobby and it's really fun. He's taught me about operating equipment. I got to hop in his skid steer. I trenched a whole water line, and I've always operated agricultural equipment. I ran a combine when I was 13, and it was fun. It was relaxing, but you do so knowing, just looking down at what you're harvesting, you can see the oats that's in your wheat, and you know it's going to go for less per bushel. I knew this when I was that young. I can look at it and go, yeah, we're going to break even this year. But we got the ag exemption, so it's okay.
Yeah.
After diesel maintenance, all that, you got to have a pretty good chunk of property. It's kind of, you see somebody driving behind a tractor. My granddad used to always make a joke, said, there goes another starving farmer. But the cattle game is cool. And yeah, his wife's awesome. She's a auditor for the Department of Defense.
Ooh.
He'll talk about that. But, our spouses got along real well. We all go to the same church now. I'm pushing real hard for him to end up in District 4 because he walked the streets over there with me, and he invited real policy. Yes, he's new to Cleburne, but I've heard more policy ideas out of him than I have out of any of the other candidates. And I think Cleburne's going to miss out real bad if they don't move to bring this guy in.
I agree. He's super knowledgeable, to be honest.
I've learned so much from that guy. And the funny part is he hates the computer paperwork side. He loves getting his hands dirty. And so we kind of complement each other in that regard. So, we can help with the paperwork. But I need to know how to operate this big equipment. And, he's never afraid to let me hop in any of the equipment and break it. I don't know why. But
Probably because you'd break it.
yeah, then it's my fault and I got to replace it. But no, he's another one of those salty earth people, man. I wouldn't have met him if I didn't go to that birthday party for his son. I'm so glad I did. It's kind of like you deciding you wanted to join a nonprofit group that happened to be upstairs at an insurance office that was part of the main event that wasn't even there.
Yeah.
You came anyway.
No, I did. I mean,
here we are.
Yeah, I just remember, and then I remember the whole thing when, it was like, oh, okay, well, what can I do? And, they were like, oh, there's the Rotary Club and stuff like that. And I was like, oh, okay, let's look at the Rotary Club. And then it was like, oh, but you have to pay dues. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, that was like a thing where it was like the dues were way more expensive than I was like, oh, okay. I thought I was giving back,
Right.
Which I'm not downing the Rotary
wrong.
Club at all.
That's why the satellite part of it came
And then
into existence, because what are we doing?
Right. And, then when the dues became so much smaller, and then I was willing to get my hands dirty and go out and, do all these things to help whoever. I mean, we did the thing at the Crisis Center. We had talked about, doing stuff for the homeless and do all that stuff. Because I was that guy, man, like, no joke, going to Fort Worth and stuff like that, and, like, seeing people in the corner, I was like, do I have something to give these people? So I made bags, It was like, hey, there's a snack, there's toothbrush, there's soap, there's this and that. And they're probably like, yeah, well, I get this all the time. But it's something, man, maybe you can barter with it. Maybe you can do this with it. I don't know. At least I'm not doing nothing, rolling up my window and trying not to make eye contact. And but the
point is, man, if you feel called to do it, it's you do that for you, not for them.
Right. And again, I didn't start this for me because I'm just some idiot out there that's willing to take the backlash from it, I guess. But because I'm sure I'll get some.
When I almost died eating the peanut butter 3 or 4 days ago, I woke up and I had this conversation with the Baptist that morning. It wasn't all Baptist, but they met at Nolan River Road Baptist Church. And Jared York invited me to go out there as a, I called him Pastor Larry growing up. But he invited me the day before. I thought, I have no conflict. I didn't think I'd be in the ER till 3:30 that morning. And then the alarm goes off after we're back. And I rolled over and looked at Jen. I go, and she says, you have to go. And I rolled out, flopped on the floor, showed up. I still had the stuff on. And man, I was happy I went, because there's nothing more powerful than these men or these women groups that are isolated, where they can be themselves and share what they're going through. But I met this guy that was bold enough to go through the fact he had 2 felonies, needed to make significantly more than he was making. He's trying to hold it down, be better. And I had some other folks talking about how they were conflicted about that thing you just talked about, which is giving funds to folks that you might be iffy about. And then also talking about some things with kids. I don't remember the name of that academy, but it was a big deal. And obviously there are 2 adults to a kid per wherever they go, but their whole mission is to scoop the kids up for a while for the day, but not just crack a Bible open in front of them, but show them chronologically how to read it, which is a big deal, because you've got the laws, you have the Old Testament, the New Testament, but in that there's the gospel, anyway, I'm not going to get into all that on this podcast, maybe next one. And what was crazy was something just got me in my gut, and I told them, you can't. They were going through why are you thankful to be here, or why are you thankful for the stuff that's going on, or do you need us to get on a prayer list? I didn't know when I'd jump in. I was the new guy, and I showed up 30 minutes late. I thought it started at 8. It was 8:30.
You know what? I have to admit, I've known you for almost 10 years now, and that does not surprise me that you were 30 minutes late.
Yeah, that's fair. And so, and it was not fashionably late either. Like, I rolled up in sweatpants looking like I got out of the hospital, which I did. And so I sit down and I I raised my hand. I was like, "Oh, me." And you're like, "Yeah." I go, "I'm glad I got to make it here this morning." And I pulled down my sleeve. I said, "I almost died last night, and I forced myself to be here this morning because something told me I needed to. But then I had something to say to each of them. And part of it was, if it feels right, do it, because it's not about you." And the biggest problem I've had, especially in this particular race, because I don't draw that in with me. If I go to an association meeting or something and I'm wearing the mayor pro tem badge or even my council member badge, I'm not campaigning, because you don't do that. But in this men's group, I didn't allude to that either. I said, but in this season for me right now, it's incredibly difficult to listen to what the big man's telling me to do and tune out what the me's telling me to do.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the reality of it all, right? You can't serve two masters. And you got to listen.
Agreed.
Are we going flesh? Are we going spirit today? But it boils down to everything. For me, my biggest service point, what I love, is orphans and widows. It's always been a big one for me. If we can take care of women trying to take care of being a mom, the ones that made that conscious decision not to kill that baby, but to raise it, and doesn't look at it as a clump of cells. Or you got the kids that don't have the option. They don't know who the two masters even are. They don't stand a chance. But that's what this guy's mission spoke to, and I told him something clicked, and I had to tell the guy. I said, forget it. If it makes you feel like you're doing the right thing, slide it to him. The rest will work itself out, because the more you do stuff like that, the more you're feeding your spirit man and not the other one.
Right.
And it changes your whole outlook. The more happy you are, and I still have a real big problem with staying in that lane, especially in times like this. There's been so many times I sit there after somebody bashes me on Facebook, and I'm like, do I obliterate this person? Or do I breathe and think it over? Do I leave it alone? So a lot of times I should have just left it alone. But, it takes the fortitude to sit there, think it out, sometimes pray about it, and I hardly ever pray about it. I'll come out and say it. I know I'm supposed to, but I'll tell you right now, I don't. And anyway, I don't know how I got off on that tangent with you.
No, you're good, man. I was just kind of laughing because somebody else said to me, it's all our first time. We're all individuals, and this is all our first time.
Oh, yeah, I guess. That's deep.
We don't know what the hell we're doing. Well, this moment right now is the very first time I've ever been in this moment.
Yep.
So, you take that for what it is. Everybody out there.
Ladies and gentlemen, Philosophy 101 with Joey Mims.
Hey, it was not me that came up with that. That was somebody else. But seriously, it's a thing. And oh man, with this thing, it was getting it together. It was full steam ahead. There was no doubt whatsoever in my mind that I needed to do this, and you saw what I did and the work that I put into it. Mm-hmm. to get it where it is, and it's not the best, and I'll do whatever I can to make it better when I get some extra funds here and there. But again, I told myself from the start, well, it's not about me. I'm just an idiot that can not shut up. And then I did a couple episodes, and I was super nervous. super nervous and super scared. And, the one thing that I thought about it was, why are you scared? It's not your story to tell. This is these people's story to tell. So why are you nervous?
Yeah.
But I mean, it's part of life. You get nervous about a lot of things, and you can either run away or you can lean into it. And I've always been that person that I usually lean into. It hasn't worked out too well most of the time, but maybe this one will work out. Who knows?
We're social creatures, man. We're very self-conscious about what other people are gonna think about what we do
And I
and
have
what
to.
we say.
We shouldn't think too much into it.
There's a lot of things we shouldn't do.
If you're serving that bigger purpose, so I like to think of it like this: it's not our story; it's his story,
Yeah.
and we're just lucky enough to be a part of it. And then when you think of it in those terms, it does help a little bit. You give yourself a little more grace, and again, just remember we're all individuals here. Just it's our first time. We're just trying to figure it out,
Yeah.
and we don't get a second one either.
We do
That's another big thing. That was my thought right there. Is we don't get a second one.
Yeah, no do-overs.
Nope. We just got this one, and we can all die tomorrow.
Come on, meteor.
Let's hope not.
Make it painless.
I don't know, man. I hope that. I don't know. I wouldn't hope for mass destruction, but man, when I start thinking about, because I'm getting older, man. I'm 40 now, and when you hit 40, weird. Everybody tells you that weird things happen when you hit 40. Like now, I can't hold. If I have to go pee, it's pretty much I have to go pee. Like I can't. I can't just hold it, for like an hour like I used to get. It's like, man, I'm gonna piss my pants right now if we don't make it to the bathroom. I've noticed my memory is not what it used to be. I need to start kicking out some of those old '90s, music lyrics that I have stuck in my head and kick those out so I can retain more stuff, I think.
Yeah, they're never gonna go away.
But yeah, death is one of those things too that you start thinking about, and I don't know, man. I just hope I go with my boots on. I hope I don't see it coming. I've always said this, that I don't want to be worthless. I don't want to be laying in a bed with people taking care of me and putting that burden on somebody else. I'd rather just keep going and doing.
Yeah, there's not really an advanced directive that lets you take care of that. I mean, I'd do it for you, buddy, but legally I can't.
Well, you are younger than I am.
That's why I said I would take care of it for you.
Man.
Hey, but if you make it to Medicare age and we still have Medicare, holler at your boy. I got the deals.
I text you first.
Give me first crack. Oh boy. Wow.
Well, do you want to talk about your urban putt thing?
The urban putt. Okay. Yeah, I'll plug it real quick. So, first of all, it is not the same thing as golf to par, and I had to make that abundantly clear with them. The cool part, you remember the Interact Club?
Mm-hmm.
So Taylor Bowersox was the owner's daughter. And she hit me up asking about TABC rules and restrictions. And I hadn't gone down that rabbit hole in a while. But I met them at whenever Fly By Night they sold out.
Mm-hmm.
I went to their equipment auction, which was sweet, by the way. I mean, their equipment folks did not show up, and so most of the people that went there were looking for all the neon or the ridiculous wall art.
Yeah.
I got a like 64 brand new in the box crystal Dublin highball glasses for like $32, and folks' final bid was around $250, $300 for a mounted white-tailed deer's butt that used to hang outside the
That's what I'm
bathroom.
talking about.
Like, I don't care about this. I'll go figure that stuff out later. But man, Was glad I went that day.
When you told me about that auction, I'm not gonna lie, I wanted to show up to buy some of that stupid shit that was on the wall.
It was solid.
But I figured that's what everybody's gonna want anyway, so I didn't go.
I mean, I wanted a lot of it. What was cool though? And side note, this was not included in the auction, but I've known Bill and Jennifer for a long time. Our family has, and they had so Sam Mann had given them like a Man Ag Farm and Ranch sign, but they also had like one of the old 67 Highway 67 signs, and they gave those to me to put in Texas Urban Putt.
Sweet.
Yeah, it'll be pretty cool. And there's some other folks that have, put some stuff in. Texas Urban Putt, what it is. So downstairs, indoor putt, 9 holes. It's all we could fit in a 4,500 square foot
It's half
building
18.
for it to be nice, and downstairs will also feature it's got a game room for some of the games will be those that are in this office right now, which, by the way, for those that don't know, I have a whole downstairs full of arcade machines because I bought them from Dr. Mahaffey for a very good price. Appreciate that. Oh, Mary Ellen and Mac, y'all are the best. And we had no room between the shipping containers we had, so we kept a lot of the old doors in the wood, and we wanted to reuse those because they're more dense.
Mm-hmm.
Old wood, back in the day when 2x4s were 2x4.
They're actually 2x4.
Yeah.
Now it's like 1.5
Yeah.
by 3
By
inches.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
And somehow we just eat it and go along.
Yeah.
Anyway, we wanted to retain a lot of that, and so all the stuff we got to store the machines, we put all that wood in. So now they live here. Anyway, downstairs, indoor putt. It'll feature a pocket bar, but going in from the alley is the cool part. We've got a little vestibule that'll have elevator and a flight of stairs to go straight up to the restaurant. Now the restaurant, we're gonna do some pretty high-end stuff up there. I mean, we want to offer something different, but the biggest part of it is we're gonna stay open late. There's not anywhere that stays open late downtown. We'll have 2 simulators upstairs. We went from 3 to 2 so we can make the 2 that we would have really nice. Couch in there, little setup bar, but it's not meant to be like we're not selling memberships to it. It's by no means what that is. It's just a draw for folks to come have a good time.
Just hang out.
Yeah. Now we'll have a conference room up there as well. Jared had a really good idea for us to I was going for like a dusted crystal glass type of deal to enclose the conference room. He had the idea to do like a overhead glass garage door to where we could use the space when there weren't meetings booked to add more seating in the restaurant. It'll have a full bar upstairs. Our inspiration for it is coming from the Hotel Galvez out in Galveston.
Okay.
You couldn't put that much together, but
I have to admit, I'm a simple person. I was like, "Where's Galvez?"
Poor Galvez is Galveston. Yeah, it's famous. It's a whole thing. Really cool hotel. And right now, we're working on. Am I allowed to talk about right away?
You can say whatever you want.
Okay, you'll just cut me out, right?
No.
So anyway, we're working on some right-of-way allowances. We've got an awning that sits out, and we want to add a balcony as far out as that existing awning extends, even with cantilevers. So we'll have one of the first businesses in downtown Cleburne that's got an actual balcony someone can walk out on during parades, and we're going for like a New Orleans kind of look when we do that. I think it'd be really cool if we can make it happen. The downside is Encore's power lines, which that's something we'll tackle later in the future. But the other cool part about the whole space is the alley that we're attached to. It was abandoned in 1931, we found out. And our portion of the alley, which we own, has the old trolley tracks on it. So we're actively searching for a rail car
Oh, that'd be cool.
to turn into like a outdoor seating area.
Oh, that'd be super cool.
And people can book it for parties or whatever. I think it would be really neat. So that's the gist of Texas Urban Putt. So, trying to bring back something for kids to do like Cleburne used to be.
Nah, that's gonna be awesome. Yeah, I remember putt, being over there by the park, and I loved it. I remember when I was like in my early 20s when it went away. I was like, I can't go play putt now? Like, that's ridiculous.
I would have thought the church that moved in,
We just leave it, yeah, or something. I don't know. I teach their own, I guess.
I guess.
But yeah, I remember that place. I used to go there all the time.
Mm-hmm. They had arcade games inside that, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was part of it. You go do the putt part, so you rush through the putt so you can go play the arcade games.
Mm-hmm.
As a kid. But I was super competitive as a kid, so I was like, I got to kick everybody's ass at putt first.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm the only guy. I'm the only kid out there keeping score. Everybody else is like, "What are you doing?"
That was Cleburne, man. We had stuff to do. It's just a matter of bringing it back.
Well, the skate park's coming in too, right?
It is. It's under construction right now.
Yeah, that was supposed to come when I was like a kid too. Finally,
Well, it did.
I'm glad it's finally coming
It came behind proms.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Whatever that was.
Yeah, I dropped my kid off there a couple of times, and I was like, man, are you gonna get like hepatitis back here? What's going on?
Yeah, right. Don't fall down. Call me when you get
Wear
bored.
long sleeves, please.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, man, good times.
Yeah, no doubt. Well,
Was there anything else you want to hit on politically or personally, anything like that?
oh God, no, I'm worn out.
All right, brother. Well, we'll go ahead and...
Maybe at some point you can open it up to field questions from a live audience. That would be cool.
We'll see. I don't know, man. I don't know about taking phone calls.
I'm just saying.
Maybe one of these days. Maybe in the future, I can be like, hey, this podcast is coming. What questions do y'all want to ask?
Could do that too. For sure. But like I say, it's...
Or maybe we'll do like Facebook Live sometime or something like that.
Well, that's a whole nother animal.
Well, I mean, it's kind of different than... Who's going to call in?
I don't know. You're the one that decided to do this. I figured you would have had...
I'm just saying, man. My kid freaks out if you tell him to call somebody, so... What do you mean I have to call them? I can't just text them? I feel like most people
Can I slide into their DMs?
I feel like most people are like that, though. They just, I'm not calling him. I mean, who knows what we would get? Jesus.
Oh, man. Uh-oh.
Could be a good idea. Well, we'll go ahead and wrap this up, brother. So, before we take off, why don't you go ahead and tell everybody how they can get a hold of you and all that stuff. Yeah, go ahead and plug your stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. So you can call or text me with any questions, 817-240-2122. You can also reach me in my email. It is voteblakejones@gmail.com. And then my website with the platform is live. It's voteblakejones.com.
There you go. All right, man. Hey, thank you, brother, for coming on.
Appreciate it.
I really appreciate this. I really appreciate you coming on. All right. Well, bye, everybody.